What we do here is go back.
Hello there, everybody. How the devil are we all? I'm very well. Thank you for asking. You join me on an auspicious day, the 79th anniversary of the creation of this headline. And that's really the important thing that happened that day. It wasn't just the killing by Hitler of Hitler, the greatest piece of anti-fascist action in human history. But it created this headline, and that for me is the real reason for the season. And congratulations to all those who celebrate. And it's I suppose appropriate given that we are on the 79th anniversary of Hitler. Let's say getting fired up by himself, as in he fired a gun up into his brain. Very funny stuff. Anyway, it's only appropriate, I guess, that given that we are on the what do-diversary, the Hitler do-diversary, I guess, the what new-aversary, that we're talking about genocide today. Because if you're okay now, you won't be after this discussion, I'm quite sure. I'm going to be talking with LonerBox about whether Israel is committing genocide. It's going to be awful, I'm quite sure. Anyway, let's get the perfunctory stuff out of the way and then I'll give him a bell, because we're talking at the top of the hour. Okay. You can hit the follow button if you're on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, you can hit the subscribe button. Both of those are free. If you're on YouTube, you can like this the stream as well. That is also free. In terms of things you can do financially to assist me in talking rubbish on the internet or whatever, you can, if you're on YouTube, and hello to the YouTubes, you can, what can you do? You can do super chats. Although I will be, for the purposes of this discussion, turning the alert box. Actually, I'll turn it off now whilst I'm thinking about it. The alert box is off. You can do super chats if you want to, and I'll read them at the end and respond, okay? But for the purposes of the conversation, I think it's fair that I try and concentrate on the seriousness of the topic and not be distracted by Lord Freetusk saying, big cock and bollocks or something, you know what I mean? God bless him for doing it. I'm just saying it would be a little of an issue. So, yes, you can do super chats messages. You can become a member for a little as 99 pence on the YouTubes. On Twitch, you can subscribe. You can subscribe with Amazon Prime. You can gift subs to the community. You can do bits messages. 200 bits or more will get you a text-to-speech after the thing, because I'll turn it back on. But you can still do that, and I'll respond to them after, if you've got things to say. You can do super chats via the Streamlabs link below. Ditto, but $2 for the text-to-speech after the thing. Anyway, you can help me out on Patreon and or PayPal. You can hit me up at the Discord, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Blue Sky, and TikTok. This could go reasonably well, or it could be cancerous as fuck. I don't know which way it will go. I'm going to be entirely honest with you. It could be, and very possibly will be, atrocious. We shall see. Let me just check I've got all my mics set up and everything. And then I'll give him a bell, I guess. What are we on? Stick with me, everybody. Voice in video. There we go. Input default. Yeah. Hang on, let me check. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I hope that works. We'll see. Give him a bell and see what happens.
Hello, hello.
Hello there, Mr. Box.
How you doing? It's been a while.
It has been. It's been a hot minute. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine, thanks. Same
Good,
as
good.
ever. How about you?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Yes. Okay. So this is going to be a fun one. A nice, fun, breezy discussion, I reckon.
Yeah. I mean, it's not my first one, so I heard they get better over time.
I don't think that's true. Anyway, yes, this comes from a Twitter discussion, which is rarely a good start, but I think on this occasion it might be better than most. You put out a thing on Twitter the other day about Israel and genocide, and I just asked you in passing, just as a clarification point, because I like to keep up with where everyone's at, whether you believe that what was currently ongoing in Gaza was genocide, and you said that you didn't think it was. And I thought, well, that might be interesting, trying to sort of tease out what's going on there. So I suppose, what's your general position then? I guess.
So I think on October 7th, Hamas obviously did what they did. I'm not sure there's going to be much disagreement there. And I think, as it seems to be recognized by at least most people, is that gave Israel a cause for war, at least in some capacity. Like, I don't think anyone expected them to do nothing. They decided that they were going to go all the way to try and take out Hamas completely. Unfortunately, I think that means that because of how Hamas operates, that it's going to, and because of the way that Gaza is, that's going to mean urban warfare. It's going to mean urban warfare with people who don't really do that much to protect their own civilians. There's no bomb shelters. There is no distinguishing between military bases and a base where you're going to be, and houses or schools and anything like that. And you combine that with a state of Israel, which I will say is arguably, I would say, quite reckless in pursuing their military goals. I don't even know that's arguable. They are. And the result from both ends of that is that you're going to see a lot of casualties. And I think from Israel's side, that almost definitely means war crimes and definitely means violations of international humanitarian law. But I don't think it classes as genocide. I don't think the evidence for that has been sufficient. I think the South African case is pretty weak as I've read it, and I think most of the arguments people make in favor of it are just not really up to task. So, yeah.
Okay. What definition are you using of genocide? And I don't really want to get bogged down in semantics too much, but presumably you do have a working definition that you're basing this off.
Yeah, just the UN definition, the one that's enforceable. Yeah, the one that they're using in the ICJ, the one that historians use. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough. Just as clarification before we get into kind of more recent events, do you think that Israel has ever been guilty of genocide during its history, or just specifically you don't think it has been since October the 7th?
No, I don't think at any point in their history. I think the closest that I've seen is that I don't think it would be impossible to put a case against Ariel Sharon for aiding and abetting a genocidal act in Beirut in '82, Sabra Shatila. That is probably a fairly difficult one to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, but I think the indications are definitely there that he was definitely okay with what was going on for a degree, or he was very negligent. He was willing to lie about the risks involved, even though they were very clear. And it seems to be that the people who were actually doing the killing, I think the quote from Hobiko was something like, he was asked by one of his fighters what to do with captured women and children, and he said, "Don't ask me that again, you know what to do." So That was probably an instance of at least the defense minister, quite possibly knowingly aiding and abetting a genocidal act. But beyond that, I don't think how the state of Israel or the war cabinet, certain, I don't think they've ever done it like that. No,
Would the Nakba not count as a genocidal act?
definitely not. No.
No. The purposeful
No.
displacement of tens of thousands and murder as well. That's not genocidal?
No, I think originally Raphael Lemkin tried to argue for putting displacement into the definition of genocide, and it was rejected. So it's not, and you can't, like, for displacement, if that's the goal, you can't get done for genocide for that. No, even if you kill people in order to do it, because obviously that the whole point of genocide is the special intent, the specific intent to reduce in whole or in part that population. So you can have mens rea, you can be willing to murder people, but if it's for a goal of like removal, which some did happen in some cases in the Nakba, we can go into that more detailed if you want. But no, I don't think that counts as genocide. I feel like that's why most people don't call it that either.
Okay, right. Okay, so let's, I suppose, read the UN definition. It's very brief. In the present convention, genocide means the following acts committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial or religious group, such as A, killing members of the group. I don't think we need to argue that point. I think that Palestinians have been killed. I think we can concede that point. B, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. C, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. D, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. And E, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. I don't really think you can argue D and E. I think that's not really applicable. But you don't have to meet every single criteria to be genocide, for instance, right?
You only need to meet one.
Yeah. Okay, so what about the killing of the tens of thousands of Palestinians in Gaza since October the 7th doesn't classify as genocide, given the obvious murderous intent of leading Israeli government ministers?
So again, I don't think the murderous intent is as obvious as people make it out to be. Again, we can go into detail on that particular one if you want. Obviously, yeah, I think the killing has obviously happened, but there's a reason that, you know, not every war becomes genocide, because it depends on how those people died and what the intent was behind killing them. I don't think the intent behind those deaths was the specific dolus specialis to take out like the Palestinian population. No.
Well, it doesn't have to be a matter of murdering all of them, for instance.
No,
and
in whole or in part, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, for instance, when you have members of the Knesset, I mean, I can go through the quotes, but that would be, I think, probably quite boring, and you've probably heard.
No, I think we could. That would
if you wanted to. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, the obvious big one was Netanyahu saying you must remember Amalek. What Amalek has done to you, says the Holy Bible, and we do remember, which I think is pretty obviously mass murderous intent. That the biblical story there is not. It's not ambiguous. It's not unclear as to what that means. It's about the destruction of all of the people who are your enemies, right?
Okay, so I guess you understand, like, just like a general language question. You know how there's like literal definitions of words, and then there's the way that the use of a word can dictate its meaning. For example, long before the definition of parent included adoptive parent, we still called adoptive parents parents, even though it didn't meet the definition, right? So use can affect meaning.
Yeah.
So, do you think when Jews say Amalek in their parlance, are they generally meaning it in that literal sense, like that biblical sense, do you think?
Well, no, but I'm not talking about Jews. I'm talking about a specific person who happens to be the head of government, and therefore
yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, like, but obviously he's speaking. I think he said it like he's speaking to Jews when he's saying it.
Well, he's speaking. I think specifically it was to a press conference on the eve of the invasion. And again, it's not in isolation, because I think you can take these quotes in the round. I think you can see a clear pattern where this isn't just the occasional misunderstanding or mistranslation. This is a clear pattern of leading members of the Israeli government having a genocidal bloodlust, frankly. And I know people are going to say blood libel, but fuck it. Like,
oh, no, I don't care about that. You can say, oh yeah,
if
I'm not going to do any of it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I know you're not, because I for anyone, don't hate on LonerBox. It's not like some crazy fucking Zionist. It's just a person who I have disagreements with on this topic. Yeah, so I think there's definitely a genocidal intent. It's not just that he's making some sort of nuanced point about the enemies of us or whatever. I think there's a clear pattern of, like I say, I think it's genocidal rhetoric, along with the sort of dehumanising rhetoric that you get from a lot of Israeli leaders as well, which you can't just say that that's like hyperbolic language, because you get hyperbolic language in any war situation. You get nationalist rhetoric, you get kind of bombast and all the rest of it. This has been a thing that they've talked about for a very long time and have begun to enact. And not just in the Gaza Strip, by the way, but obviously they've been murdering people and continuing settlements in the West Bank as well.
Yeah, so this is why I think it's. I want to focus on particular quotes because, I know it seems like a forest, but I'd like to just look at each individual tree and just see exactly if it fits. Because, so to you, referring to a group of people as Amalek is like generally, if it's coming from an official, especially, that counts as like incitement against that entire group, right?
I think
like
so.
You,
yeah, it's not.
Okay.
I don't think you can say it's like some random person down the pub saying a thing slightly out of context.
Yeah.
If you're the head of government, you've got to be pretty fucking diplomatic about it, I think.
So my question is why is there an Amalek monument on The Hague, in one of the buildings on The Hague?
There probably oughtn't be. Just like I don't think there should be 10 commandments outside of a courthouse in America. Yeah, like. Saying there's fuckery elsewhere doesn't excuse fuckery in any individual situation, does it? Like,
is it fuckery? I feel like it's just there as a Holocaust memorial. Like, remember what Amalek did to you, never forget. It seems like they're referring to. I don't think it's inciting. I don't think it's a genocidal statement against Germans. I don't think anyone's ever complained that it was.
No, it's not. Although you bring up an interesting point with Germany, which we might get into about the way in which its support of Israel being a kind of a bizarre situation. Although that's at The Hague, you said, so that's Netherlands, I guess. But its support being essentially a matter of guilt over the Holocaust, but getting Palestinians to pay for that guilt. It's a very, very sick situation. Anyway,
we can go into that as well if you. One thing at a time. But
exactly. I don't want to get.
I imagine there's been no protest. I'd imagine there's been no protest against there being an Amalek monument in. The Hague on this building, because I think people understand that it's not painting all Germans and saying that there's any cause to go to Germany and kill all the women, children, cattle, and asses. Because
but there's clearly a difference.
Specific meaning in terms of like atrocities were committed against us, right?
Right, but there's a difference between that having a kind of passive sense, because there's no intent either by the authorities of The Hague or indeed the Dutch government more broadly. There's no military build-up at the Dutch-German border that they could act upon.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is like, so when you say Amalek, it's like, I don't know how many people sit there taking that as a command to do the women, children, cattle, and asses thing. It seems to be that...
Well, no, they probably don't.
Based on what Netanyahu says, generally, is like, it seems like he's mostly talking about Hamas, no?
Well, I'm supposed he probably is talking mostly about Hamas, and you can always read a lot of these quotes as being about Hamas. But when you have the defense minister saying that he's removing restraints and restrictions on armed force members, when you have leading Israeli politicians talking about there being no innocent people in Gaza, you put those things together, and it's not very difficult to see the way in which innocent people would be targeted in that kind of rhetorical, dehumanising condition.
The one who said no innocence in Gaza. Let's have a look at that. This point, because this is probably.
Herzog, I think was the one. Hang on, I've got it.
Was it Herzog? Hang on.
Yeah, Israel.
This is the one where he said there are no innocents in Gaza. The killers. This is a Knesset member. Where's the one from Herzog? It was a similar one.
The quote I have from Herzog.
Civilians.
Well, there's two from Herzog. There are no innocent civilians in Gaza. And it's an entire nation out there that is responsible. This rhetoric about civilians not aware, not involved, it's absolutely not true.
This is why I think South Africa are being intentionally dishonest. Because if you look at this quote, with the way that this quote has been used, I'll send it to you on Discord if you want to.
By the way, I'm not judging this on the basis of what South Africa have done at the ICJ, because I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not even going to pretend that I understand it completely.
Yeah, I know, it's even relevant without. So if you look at this article, the way that they've said it, it's not true, this rhetoric about civilians not aware, not involved. It's absolutely not true. And we will then ellipses, long ellipses, and we will fight until we break their backbone. The way this is interpreted, obviously, is saying he made it clear that Israel was not distinguishing between militants and civilians. So, I mean, it sounds pretty clear the way they've phrased it. But then if you even follow their own hyperlink, it's like there's the article where it came from. He does say that about we are working, operating militarily in terms according to rules of international law, period, unequivocally. Then it's not it's an entire nation out there that's responsible. It's not true. This rhetoric about civilians not aware, not involved is absolutely not true. They could have risen up. They could have fought against the evil regime, coup d'etat, etc. We're at war. We're defending our homes. We're protecting our homes. So it sounds all very not distinguishing. But then there's like just down the paragraph, he continues. I agree, there are many innocent Palestinians who don't agree with this, but if you have a missile in your goddamn kitchen and you want to shoot it at me, am I allowed to defend myself? We have to defend ourselves. We have the right to do so. And then he's even asked, he acknowledged that many Gazans have nothing to do with Hamas, but was adamant that others did. So it seems to be that the context of him saying this is he's talking about certain civilians who are not Hamas, but are still armed and are firing rockets. And I guess that's also in reference to October 7th, because a bunch of
also
people who went in were civilians.
Yeah,
so
but I don't think that
out of context. Like, yeah.
Well, I don't think that context really adds a great deal to it. Unfortunately, you can't, on the one hand, have statements like there are no innocent civilians, and then go on to say, oh, but there are innocent civilians, on the basis that you're literally saying that these people, because they didn't rise up, are somehow complicit or at fault for this. You're saying because they didn't revolt against an armed force that was fucking ruling over them for the last 15 years, especially when most of them were fucking children anyway, that they're somehow complicit in this, and therefore are liable for the consequences of the actions of Hamas. Again, when you then put it in the context of the fact that people between the ages of, I think, is it 16 and 45, I forget, who are in a essentially an invisible lined kill area, regardless of whether they're a terrorist or not, are counted as terrorists. So essentially you're saying we're going to kill X number of fucking civilians here, probably, but we don't give a fuck. So you're basically saying if you
added that part in,
if you happen to be
no, where you said therefore you get the act, because when he's talking about the military action, he seems everything he said about military action is he's claiming to be wanting to follow international law,
which we know isn't. Well, for a start, we know that isn't true, though. We know they're not following international law. So him paying lip service to it is fucking irrelevant to the topic, as far as I'm concerned. That's like saying a murderer claims to be innocent, so you let him go. No, obviously not. Right? We can see they're committing fucking war crimes. Literally, they did it straight away by cutting off water and electricity. The collective punishment, it's a fucking war crime. We know that they're doing that. So his protestations to the country are irrelevant. My point is, when you take it in the round, because Isaac Herzog, for instance, is not the head of the IDF, right? I'm saying there is a broader attitude within the upper echelons of Israeli government and military life that are genocidal, right? So Isaac Herzog will say things like, there are no innocent civilians in Gaza. The Israeli Defense Force act as if there are no innocent Palestinians in Gaza. They will literally kill anyone between the ages of 16 and 45 in this kill zone, which the Palestinians don't even fucking know is there. It's just an area on a map that's been decided by Israel, and they get counted as Hamas, even though they just happen to fucking live there and be there, which they're perfectly entitled to be there because that's where they fucking live. So they don't seem to be distinguishing between civilians and combatants, which is a war crime.
Okay, so cutting off water, electricity. So I don't think cutting off electricity is a violation of IHL. I've never seen that. The water, yes, there were 3 pipes. I think they made up 9% of Gaza's water that was being sold by Israel. There is legal contention over because it was actually being sold, but again, I don't buy it. I think it was. That's one thing I think is a clear violation. I think 2 of the pipes came back on within a couple of weeks. One of them took about 6 months before they turned it back on. So that one, yeah, I think is a complete violation of IHL. The water, not the electricity. But you said quite a few things there. But this thing about Isaac Herzog is like, it's not him. Like, that quote is not him saying that like everyone is fair game. Within that whole statement, he literally acknowledges that there is such a thing as Palestinian civilians who are not fair game. But even if I grant you that the rhetoric is very inflammatory and irresponsible, I agree that a lot of it is. Obviously, I don't think that necessarily signals that they're definitely intending to commit genocide or enact it into a policy or anything like that. Because if that were the case, like if we look at inflammatory war rhetoric, I mean, pro-Israel people will do this. Like, do you think the Arab leaders in '48 had genocidal intent in that war?
I think some of them did, yeah.
Do you think they were actually
But they,
orchestrating it? Do you think they were like the armies were going in there with a genocidal plan?
Well, I mean, if you talk about was there a policy, maybe, but individual soldiers fight for many different reasons, don't they? I mean, that's
Well, it's not
a
individual
really
soldiers. It was like the Arab Legion and the like whoever Al Husseini was commanding the ALA. Like these were armies. They had commands.
Well, I think they did intend to
committed against Jewish civilians. Like quite a lot.
And I think they
but
did intend to. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But again, let's grant completely that the Arabs were trying to destroy all Jewish people in 1948. Whatever. That doesn't.
Well,
detract...
I don't think they were.
No, I'm not saying they were. Yeah. But I'm saying that you bringing up someone else doing a genocide doesn't detract or alleviate in any way this current genocide.
That's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is.
It seems like kind of obfuscation, is what I'm getting.
No. That's not what I'm doing.
Okay.
1 second. I'm saying that this is an example of people, Arab leaders, who had much more, I would say, genocidal rhetoric than the Israeli leaders do now. But as far as the evidence that the armies were actually trying to commit genocide, or that there were any orders to, or any policy that was in that direction, despite massacres, it didn't seem like they were. It didn't seem like genocide was the goal of any of these Arab militias or forces, even though the rhetoric of their leaders was was far more inflammatory than what Israelis are saying. So my argument is that the rhetoric alone, like the rhetoric doesn't indicate clear intent. Rhetoric indicates people saying mad shit during war like they always do. So we can look at particular policies on the ground and the way the war is being conducted. But I think one thing that you said earlier is that they're not distinguishing between Hamas and civilians. I think they quite clearly are. I think it seems to be that they are targeting Hamas. I think and I think the war plays out in that way.
Well, we'll get into that in a second. But this is why I said let's not get bogged down too much in the quotes, right? Because I don't want this to just be me say a quote and then you say, whatever. Like that seems like a boring way of going about it. I think we can both, whether you want to call it inflammatory, I will call it genocidal. But regardless, the point is they're definitely talking about killing lots of fucking people, and it's a matter of does that play into the way in which the war, turns out. So we can go through them if you like, or we can move on to the practical on the ground stuff. It's up to you, really. In terms of,
I'm just saying what matters is, like, I know it seems like bogging down, but it's because I feel you're bringing in a bunch of like talking points here that I think are always like misunderstood, because I can almost guarantee most people who make that claim about Herzog don't know that there are paragraphs in that same article where he's talking about distinguishing between civilians, and it's the same thing with a bunch of them.
Okay, but that doesn't quotes, it doesn't add
paragraphs surrounding it. They specify Hamas. I'm just saying.
No,
like,
but the context
quotes out of context. Yeah.
That context you gave doesn't alleviate what he fucking said. The fact that he then backtracked or some shit and claimed that he was following that Israel was following international law doesn't change what he actually fucking said, and it doesn't change like the way in which. Well, clearly from him it is a backtrack. Maybe
it matters because
it might be a matter of. Yeah, go on. Sorry, go on.
It matters because the statement about saying like there are no innocents or there are no civilians in Gaza, like they're all part of this, like they could have gotten rid of Hamas. Like you could say that, but then that might not necessarily be a statement about your military goal. It can be a statement, like a political statement, because most people in Gaza do seem to have at least some support for Hamas, and we saw like people celebrating when Hamas dragged people's dead bodies in. So you can make a political statement about how the civilian population is in favor of it, but if Israel's still. Sorry, you can say that and also acknowledge that they're not military targets. Like you can easily say that, right?
If Israel's goal was to lessen support for Hamas in Gaza Strip, it would have been spectacularly counterproductive in that, because they were very unpopular before this, and now it looks like they're polling around 60% if there were an election there. Not that there can be an election there, because they've destroyed most of the fucking buildings, it would appear. So that would make it difficult. I don't think they care about getting rid of support for Hamas. I think they care about getting rid of the military apparatus and their ability to launch rockets and wars, basically. Yeah, I don't think they care about. And I think they've
make Hamas less popular.
I think they've
win hearts and
failed.
minds, obviously not,
I think they've rather failed in that regard as well. 6 months down the line, and a nuclear-armed power is still scratching around in the rubble. The tunnels seem to be there. They seem to be able to operate. They're still there. Look, they fucking failed in this regard, and at the expense of tens of thousands of Palestinian lives, which is rather unfortunate.
They're down to 4 battalions out of 24. So, but yeah, I guess Rafah's the last 4. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, so on the ground.
Yeah.
And this is where the this kind of hyped up rhetoric, I think, does play into this, because when you have the defence minister saying that he's going to get rid of restraints, he said he would get rid of all restraints, this was an all-out war. Now, you can say that's just bluster and rhetoric. I would argue it's very fucking dangerous, even if that is the case. But ultimately, when you then have the kind of democide that we see in Gaza, where I think the latest, it's nearly 3/4 of housing has been largely destroyed, I think is the phrase that was used. So basically uninhabitable. That basically makes, again, this is going back to the definition of genocide, right? Making conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. If you can't fucking live in a place, then having any kind of cohesive community or ethnic, group in a region is basically impossible. And Israel has, just like I say, destroyed nearly 3/4 of housing in the region, which again can't possibly be down to them strategically targeting Hamas, because Hamas weren't in fucking 75% of the houses. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, 75% of the houses have been destroyed, or what?
They've been largely
75.
destroyed. I saw the number that 75% of the housing in the Gaza Strip had been destroyed. Well, basically
Let me have a
rendered
look.
uninhabitable, I think was the exact definition. But yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the 70% claim. It's just that it clashes with even the UN's own data from April, like from this month. I think they've said, so they have a list here of identifying destroyed structures, severely damaged, moderately damaged, or possibly damaged, and then you're up to like 50% of the total structures, and this is in April. But then if you take out the possibly damaged, then you're like anything between like 30, it takes off like 12%. So you're like between 38 and 50. The 70% thing was a total, it was based on a bad algorithm that just looked at very pixelated aerial photographs or aerial, aerial imagery, and then just built a bunch of estimates around like bad data. But yeah, it seems to be that
Okay,
number
let's
is down. And it's like now,
let's
so.
say it's a third then. Let's say it's a third. Whatever. Is that in any way a tolerable destruction rate? In what other war would you have that as a strategic strike against just the terrorists involved there? Like that involves
what are we
basically
comparing it to?
carpet bombing. That's like the kind of damage you would get in cities like Dresden.
I mean, the firebombing of Dresden was about a third or 40% of all the buildings, but that took 2 days. That took 2 days, not 6 months.
Right, but most of the destruction was done in the opening 2 months, I believe. And also, you've got to bear in mind the fact that that was done in 2 days because of the 1,000 bomber raids, but they'd done this to dozens of German cities before this. So, I mean, if we're going to go by... Oh, God, it's difficult to compare because Germany's a much larger country, both population and geographic-wise. But I would argue that it's... you could... Oh, Jesus, how would you even do the mathematics on that? I'm not sure. But basically... it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter so much anyway if it takes 2 days because you've got more planes, or 6 months or 2 months or whatever because you've got fewer. Like, that's still, you're not doing strategic strike. Well, we've seen with the way in which the Americans have targeted specific Houthi sites, and I know it's not exactly one for one, but I think you can see the very, very distinct difference between the way in which a strategic strike against a target works and the kind of rather more indiscriminate bombing of civilian areas. And again, the counting of even non-combatant civilians as combatants, which again goes to the heart of the fact that they're not discriminating really between civilians and military targets, at least in specific areas.
Well, no, so first of all, I don't think you could just say that, well, they took 6 months to do the same damage as Dresden, and therefore it's like the same kind of like principle, like the same principle of distinction. I don't think that really works because it's still urban warfare. Like, the fighting is still going on. There are still rockets being fired from some of these areas, and there are still troops running around, and there are still tunnels that are still there, like you said.
It is a war.
The war is still continuing. So that does seem, and people obviously move between structures as well. So I don't think it's surprising that between like 30 and 40% of the buildings would get destroyed, especially given that Hamas actually have spent most of that time in Gaza, even before they had power, consolidating control over a particular building. I think even before
Right,
they
but
came
it's
to
not.
power, they controlled like 40%
But
of the mosques. So,
yeah, but
and
come on,
that's
my
just
dude,
like
come on.
mosques.
Like they've destroyed buildings they knew had no fucking Hamas in them and had no tunnels underneath them. They blew up the fucking Parliament building. They blew up all of the fucking universities. They've blown up all of the hospitals. Like, are you arguing that Hamas
Wait,
is
what do
in
you mean they've
control of
blown up
all?
all of the hospitals? They've blown up all of the hospitals?
Well, most of them have been bombed to the point of basically being unusable for the most part. Yes.
Bombed to the point of inoperable, or like there's been damage done from bombings outside of the hospital, or like the
Well,
area is inoperable because of like lacks of supplies, or what?
you can nitpick if you like, but either way, most Gazans have no real access to a fucking hospital. Is the point?
Well,
I'm
it's
making.
not nitpicking to go between bombing a hospital versus, or like
Well, they have bombed
between that and
hospitals.
a hospital being
Are there any
between,
major?
like,
Okay,
that and a
are
hospital
there
being
any major
inoperable because
hospitals in Gaza that haven't been bombed by Israel?
I don't know what you mean by bombed, as in like they've been
Had
damaged because bombs have gone up
bombs
near them, or
had
like they've
bombs
actually
dropped on
targeted like.
them? Had bombs
So what? They've
dropped on them?
airstruck a hospital. Are they like they flattened hospitals? Which hospitals have been flattened?
I didn't
Like,
say
or
flattened. I
is
said
it,
bombed. So they've
well,
been
if you bomb
bombed.
a hospital, like
Yeah, so I mean, okay, I mean, look, if you want to dance on the head of a pin about the bombing of hospitals, go for it, I guess.
I mean, it matters. That's why the Al Ali story was so big, because if it turned out that Israel had actually just airstruck a hospital and blown it up, that would have been like unprecedented, because like them actually just targeting that like building whilst there are a bunch of patients in there and people taking shelter, that kind of matters compared
Okay,
to that there's damage
okay.
on a complex area. There's fighting there because we know that Hamas uses hospitals. That's been known for decades.
Okay,
like,
so would your position be then that the bombing of, let's say, each of the hospitals that have been bombed, let's be more apposite than right, or correct in the language, has been justified?
I don't know what's happened in each of the hospitals. It depends. Like if it was like a drone strike on a Hamas operative in the like area, then yeah, one like sure. But if they're doing it to say like we think these 50 patients are worth 2 guys with RPGs, then probably not. No, that would be insane.
Okay. I would argue that the destruction of both the housing and the universities and a great many of the hospitals, although you wish to quibble apparently about some of that, I would argue that this again is part of a concerted campaign to make life basically unlivable in large swathes, certainly of the north of Gaza. And you then add that, and again, this is all the context that I think matters. And it's not a matter of gish galloping. I'm trying to build a broader picture because there's context here. Nothing happens in isolation. When you add in the settlement drive that a lot of ultra-Zionists in Israel are trying to have. We had the Nahala conference in January, which was attended by 2 leading members of the Israeli government, which was literally, I called it SettlerCon when I covered it, which basically they wanted to rebuild settlements in northern Gaza. Now, considering Israel has deliberately flattened huge swathes of northern Gaza, and I think leading members of the Israeli government turning up to that conference, it's not that difficult to put 2 and 2 together and think that certainly a large number of Zionists would like for that to happen, that colonialist expansion into the territory that has been essentially prepared for recolonisation. It's not that out of the question, is it?
I don't think it's out of the question. I think if it happens, it'll be settlers going in of their own volition, and then the government just won't stop them. I don't think the government's ever going to like have a. I don't think the government's ever going to put in place a policy to put settlers back.
Well, no,
into
but hang
Gaza.
on.
I
How
think
is
would
that?
be suicide,
How is
but-
that any better? How is that any better? If they're doing things that they know are illegal under international law and immoral beyond belief regardless, and they do nothing about it, then they are tacitly approving of that.
I didn't say it was any better. I'm just saying that that's likely how it would happen. And when we're talking about claims of genocide, it actually does matter because I don't think just like allowing your civilians to go and do something and not really doing that much to stop them is the same as like having a genocidal intent for the government.
Hang on. Whoa. Okay, so let's say, for instance, the civilian-led attacks, and they largely were civilian-led, attacks on Jewish people during the Night of the Broken Glass. The German government just looked the other way and allowed public anger to take place. Was that not one of the opening firing shots of the genocide known as the Holocaust?
The government didn't turn a blind eye. They incited it. Goebbels incited
And my
crystal now.
point is that over the course of decades, Israel and its government have primed the Israeli people, and we see that now in the fact that huge proportions of the Israeli population don't think that the IDF have gone far enough in Gaza. We see it from the fact that you have these fucking weird drum circles that have appeared at the border to stop aid trucks getting through. The Israeli population have been primed by decades of Zionist propaganda to do this genocide. This isn't, again, genocide doesn't just happen. It's a long ass process. Yes, I'm suggesting that, and again, the Zionists will accuse me of being an anti-Semite, and you know what? Go fuck yourself, lads. The same way in which the Nazis primed the German people to act in that way, the Israeli government have primed the Israeli people to act towards the Palestinians.
I feel like we need to probably go into a bit more detail about just like one of these claims.
Go for it.
I feel like I'm hearing like 10 of them, and
yeah, and I'm trying not to
do
the gish
you think
gallop.
Israel is? Yeah, it's okay. Do you think? Well, I've got all day, so yeah. Do you think Israel is trying to stopping aid trucks? Do you think that's like a government thing, or what's can you tell me what's happening with the aid trucks?
Well, I mean, the example I gave was of Israeli civilians, and again, they do appear to be acting independently. They're not being necessarily paid or transported or housed by the government. Have appeared at the border crossing with Egypt to stop the passage of trucks. They're basically creating a human barrier to trucks getting in there. But in terms of the government of Israel, there's undoubtedly the case. Alice Kearns, the British MP, a memo from her was leaked, which suggested that she had seen a letter from David Cameron, the current British Foreign Secretary, who had claimed that the Israeli government, the Elon Levy, the Israeli government spokesperson in Britain, had claimed that the Israeli government had never stopped any aid convoys from getting in. The British Foreign Secretary flatly denied that in a leaked memo. He didn't mean that to become public, but it has become public. The Israeli government have flatly, have consciously stopped aid convoys that the British government wished to send into Gaza from getting there.
Yeah, I know. Like I think it's like 1.5% of trucks have been turned back on average. I don't know if there's any indication that. So first, the protesters, yeah, you're right. They're not government mandated at all. They're actually, well, the IDF has put military zones around those areas, and they've literally fought people off of those areas, like with people on horses and people throwing people off walls and shit to get them away from that. I don't think there's been any evidence that any particular amount of aid has been stopped by protesters successfully. I don't think that's ever been shown. I think maybe in Nitzana there was a couple of instances where they were held up for a few hours, but that was when there was already a bottleneck at Rafah. So even if they got through Nitzana at that time, they would have just gone to the back of a queue in Rafah for the Egyptians. So I don't think protesters have actually successfully stopped any aid from reaching anyone. As for the government, like, I don't know, you can tell me, because as far as Kerem Shalom and Rafah goes, is there any particular difference between the way that the Egyptians and the Israelis are processing aid?
I mean,
border?
I don't know specifically about that border crossing. All I know is the, like I said, the example of the British Foreign Secretary privately saying that he had, that the Israeli government had stopped British shipments from getting in. To the degree to which that's happened, I don't know. But again, I don't think for the purposes of our discussion... Now, look, obviously at the ICJ you would need to go into a lot more detail. But for the purposes of this discussion, I think that's enough to suggest that the Israeli government are happy to look upon the starvation of the Palestinian people and think, fuck it, we can make that worse. Again, that again
no,
shows
I don't think that's sufficient at all. I think a statement from an official saying that like an unspecified number of trucks were turned back, even though no one denies that. Everyone will say that trucks have been turned back for one
so we
reason
know
or the
that
other.
the largest, I think I'm right in saying the largest calorific drop in modern history, certainly since records of this sort of thing began, which is apparently the case in Gaza, is being exacerbated. To what degree? Again, we can argue. But as being exacerbated by the Israeli government purposefully turning away aid trucks. Does that not suggest to you that they're at least passively okay with the starvation of Palestinians?
Well, no, because Egypt has turned back trucks as well. It only seems to be 1.5%. Is there any indication that
Israel?
Well,
I would argue. I would argue that
is
Egypt is complicit in this genocide too. By the way, I'm not letting them off the fucking hook.
That's fine. So I'm just wondering then, is there any indication that there's like not enough trucks getting through these crossings?
I think everyone knows there's not enough fucking trucks going in there.
Do they?
Yeah. Is there anyone claiming that enough aid is reaching the people of Gaza via these truck routes?
No. Reaching the people is different, but we're talking about the crossings. We're talking about Israel's policies of the crossings. Obviously, distribution is a different question because.
Well, no, not even just distribution.
Some places
it's not even just distribution. There isn't enough going in there. Even if it was distributed entirely fairly, we know that the calorific needs of that amount of people is not being met.
How do we know that?
What do you mean, how? Because we know what the calorific intake of the population that roughly is there, and we know that not enough is getting in there. That's why everyone keeps saying we need more fucking aid trucks going in there.
No, I know some people are saying they need more trucks, but is there like a particular number we're talking about, or like what have they?
I don't know what the exact number is off the top of my head. I apologise.
Because my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that before the war, the average number of food trucks that went into Gaza daily was about 70 for food trucks, and now it's like 150. So, and that's also, I think. That would also include internal production in Gaza, made up between sort of 27 and 33% of their food production, and some of that was for export. So even if you account for that, it's like there's currently more food trucks going than pre-war, plus also internal production. So it's made up for both plus extra. So that's why I'd be curious to see where people are saying there's not enough trucks entering the strip.
Apologies, I'm just reading a thing here. Someone sent me the link for the 14,000. Oh, that's the 1.5%. Trucks were refused. Okay, sorry. Yeah, apologies. I'm being sent links. That's always part of the problem with this. Is it's such a fucking complicated, issue that it's a lot of the details are very, very difficult to parse out. Okay.
I can just be candid as well. The reason I'm focusing on details is because I feel like a lot of these bullet points that people give are either based on disinformation or incomplete information that actually changes the story. That's why I think usually what I hear from trucks is like you have people saying there were 500 trucks. We need 500 trucks going in. But it turns out that 500 trucks has never been the case. Definitely not for food. 500 trucks accounted for everything, like construction materials and all that shit that's obviously not going in now. So that's why I think it's like important to look at these details because
that's fine. But I think we're all dealing with incomplete information to a degree.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying when you're claiming that the Israeli government is like satisfied or like they want to starve the population, then I feel like that one needs a bit of substantiation. I mean, so far the number of trucks going in doesn't provide evidence for that at all.
Well, we've certainly going back to the quotes, we've seen rhetoric from some of them that suggests that they're perfectly fine with the starvation and hunger of the Palestinian people on the basis that they want their hostages back, even though, of course, when 3 of them were released, they were fucking killed by the Israeli defense forces, which is fascinating. And of course, starving the Palestinians means starving the fucking hostages as well. So that's counterproductive in an enormous way. But
of course it is. But that's why rhetoric and actions matter. Because when Gallant says there will be no food, meanwhile there are more food trucks going into Gaza than there were pre-war, almost double actually. Then it's like, well, okay.
Well, that's because the world's watching now. Yeah, that's the world is watching now. That's because Israel is massively watching because Israel overplayed its fucking hand. That's why.
Yeah, so if they're changing their actions, first of all, I don't know at what point there ever was no food going in. I think in October there was a drop because border crossings were having to arrange for imports.
At no point.
Yeah, but that's the point. That's what I'm saying is like that's what I'm saying is that like there doesn't seem to be the case that even though there's this quote of Gallant saying no food, we're fighting human animals, but then you see on the ground that Israel is actually allowing more than enough food to actually cross the border, then it seems to be the case that they're not following through on this idea of like starving the population at any point.
Right, because the world changed. Well, because the world changed its opinion based upon the overplaying of the hand of Israel. When Israel first suggested cutting off internet and water and electricity and blah blah blah, the world was fine with that. Every world leader said, "Yay, fantastic." And it wasn't until Israel started doing what it's doing, killing tens of thousands of people, and the opinion in those countries shifted, that all of a sudden that becomes quite such a rhetorically acceptable line anymore. It's not Israel out the goodness of its heart saving the Palestinians, is it?
Oh, it doesn't matter why they're doing it. It just matters, like, if you're saying that they're.
Well, considering intent, intent is one of the core parts of the Genocide Convention. I would argue the reason that anything is happening is precisely the point, isn't it? They're not doing this because they want Palestinians not to die, or because they love Palestinians. They want to fucking save them. It's because the world said no to this shit.
No, but I think but you're saying they changed something, but I don't know if the policy on letting food trucks into Gaza has changed at all. Really, it seems that they're doing what they were doing in October. I think there was a drop in October because obviously that was like when the war started and a bunch of border crossings were destroyed, and that obviously had to be the arrangement of humanitarian aid to go in those particular places. But I don't think they changed their policy on not allowing food into Gaza ever. It seemed to be that they were never acting in a way that you would if you wanted to starve out the population.
Okay, so has there never been a calorific deficit at any point in the last 6 months in Palestine, or in, let's say, in Gaza?
Oh, there are deficits in certain areas, but that's a question of distribution, not a question of Israel letting aid trucks into the strip,
And what?
which was the initial claim.
Okay, but what part of okay? Does any part of the country that Israel currently controls have any calorific deficit that it could be doing more about?
I almost 100% agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So at least in part, they are fine with using hunger or allowing hunger within a controlled area that it controls and that no one else can get food into, as well as, of course, the purposeful targeting of certain aid workers. We've seen huge numbers of aid workers that have been killed during this. Again, some of them you can write off as an accident. I don't think you can write all of them off as an accident.
So
I think they wish to scare international workers away from this.
So now it seems to be like they are. So now it seems to be like they're allowing enough food to get into the strip, but they're intentionally not distributing it effective or not allowing it to be distributed effectively enough in an area.
Well, they are
that
effectively
is,
the government in large parts of certainly
I
the
know.
north
So
of the Gaza
that's
Strip.
why I agree with the ICJ giving those provisional measures, because as the occupier, you are legally supposed to facilitate aid moving in. But again, it's like I don't really know what the difference is between what's happening now and the best that they could do, because North Gaza is a absolute mess right now. It's like there's like gang warfare starting to crop up. There's an issue of just like the fact that the border crossings that are currently functional are both in the south. I think Israel's already opening, or they're said to be opening one in Erez. There's the American port that's going in right now. So again, I don't really know if any of this is indication of like intentionally wanting to starve the population. I guess that's probably why.
No,
I don't even know when was the last time the health ministry reported a death of starvation. I thought it was like 50 days ago by now.
I don't know, but I mean, again, you're dancing on the head of a pin on this is slightly mind-boggling, because I know you're not a Zionist, so you don't need to be doing this. I don't know why you're taking this odd rhetorical line about it. Like, you can say that they're passively allowing people to go hungry, but I don't see that that's morally any better. Like, it might play at the ICJ, I guess. Like, they could try that tactic, but I don't see that it's going to work.
I feel like because you're starting with an extreme claim, and then we start to look at a bit of the nuances of it, and then you kind of just like want to massage the original claim to make it fit whatever new thing we're at. Because I think you started with talking about aid getting blocked at the border or getting turned back and all that.
But that wasn't even about the Israeli government. No, I'm not giving that up at all. I was arguing that the radicalization of the Israeli people has led to things like protesters trying to block trucks at the border. That wasn't even about the Israeli government. That was about I was making a broader point about the radicalization of the Israeli people. Who, like I say, if you look at the polling of the Israeli people, it's pretty fucking worrying actually. A great majority of them don't think the IDF has gone far enough, and they are pretty much the only country in the world who think that.
So when you spoke about radicalization of Israelis, you were using it in aid of the idea that the government and that the leaders have radicalized them into a genocidal mindset. And then I was thinking, well, that clearly can be the case for this particular example, because it seems to be that the protesters who went to block those trucks had the shit beaten out of them by the IDF, and they had a military zone drawn up around that area to keep those protesters out. And it doesn't seem like those protesters actually achieved anything.
Well, Hasidic Jews who have campaigned against the actions of the Israeli government have also been beaten the shit out by the IDF. It does seem that the IDF are rather fond of beating up Jewish people as well.
Wait, was that a pivot, do you think?
Well, no, it's taking the seriousness of your point as seriously as I think it deserved to be taken. The IDF are, by their very nature, a violent and despicable group. The fact that they beat up some Jewish people, that's what they do. They're a violent group.
Okay, but then it just seems like the claim that you made that you don't really care about each of these individual arguments because
Well, no,
the
because
claim
each
was that the
individual
government's
you can
radicalizing.
you can try and pick holes in each individual part, right? My point is that if you take all of this in the round, there is a context behind all of it because it all happens. Nothing happens in abstract. That there is an attitude of genocidal intent from Israeli leaders, from both the political and military wing, and that they are enacting, at least in part, some of that, seeing how far they can go with it, and with the wish, hopefully, to have settlements in the north of Gaza at the very least. That's what I think is taking place right now. Now, can I prove that in a court of law? I'm not a fucking lawyer, so, I mean, no. Is ultimately the fucking point. Hopefully South Africa can, but I don't know.
I feel like I don't know if you're. Does it really feel like I'm poking holes if we're just focusing on particular things? I feel like we kind of have to look because, yeah, this is how I see it. I feel like you're showing me a forest, and as soon as we start looking at a few of the trees, they're not quite what you say they are.
I think you've got a set of, let's say, pre-prepared positions that you're not even remotely going to examine. You've got your set opinion that you think it's X thing, and that you're just going to stick to that. It feels like I'm talking to a wall, frankly.
Do you want to try another example? I think you spoke about distinction or.
Well, I mean, the point I made about the fact that they are treating everyone within the certain age range. I think it's, like I say, I think it's 16 to 45 or something like that, as all being enemy combatants if they happen to be within a certain area, which they're not even told that's the certain area. So yeah, I would argue in that case, if you're killing everyone or potentially killing everyone in that area and calling them all terrorists, even though you have no evidence that these people are fucking terrorists in many cases, I would argue that's not you drawing a distinction between civilians and active combatants in a war zone.
If we're talking about distinction, then according to Hamas, their own numbers, they've got like what 30,000 fighters, and they said that the IDF had killed like 6,000 of them, right?
Okay, yeah, that's possible.
Israel said that they'd killed 12, 13,000, and this is when the death toll was just under 30,000 total.
Right.
So it seems like, I don't know what the argument against this is, you can tell me. That would mean that Israel has killed, according to Hamas's numbers, Israel has killed 20% of the Al-Qassam brigades, 20% of the Hamas forces.
Okay.
And as for the civilian population death, that would be like, I think 25,000 out of 2.2 million would be like 1%, maybe a bit over.
Okay.
So if they're killing 20% at least, maybe 40 of Hamas's military, but 1% of the civilian population, doesn't that seem like they're targeting Hamas?
Okay, but I mean that's a very interesting way of statistically analysing that. You could also argue that they're killing X number of civilians for every enemy combatant, and that what's the acceptable ratio of innocents to military combatants? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that would be a. But then the problem with just using civilians to combatants is that, like, imagine there was a city with 100 people, and 10% of them were militants and 90% of them were civilians, and you indiscriminately bombed the whole place, and you got an equal number. Then it would look like you indiscriminately bombed because it would just look bad. You got 9-to-1 ratio of civilians to combatants. But if you did the exact same bombing campaign in a city that was 90% militants and 10% civilians, you'd get a really good ratio, even though if you just indiscriminately bombed. So I think just civilian to combatant ratio doesn't necessarily tell you that much about the intent of the people doing the strikes. That's why I think proportion of each group is probably a bit more of a nuanced way to look at it.
Okay, but what's the percentage overall of Hamas? Certainly, let's say Hamas within the targeted areas as well, because I don't think you can take the entire thing because they haven't literally bombed every fucking inch of the place.
Well, you can if you remember that Israel can bomb all of Gaza. So for all of Gaza is
right, but it's not going to
because Israel could target all of it, right?
It's not going to bomb like the fucking desert or something, is it? or the desert. That's
But we're
not
we're just
inhabited.
talking about the population within the strip. It's not just like we're not talking about square kilometers. We're just talking about the population in the strip, and the population in the strip is about 2.1, 2.2 million.
Yeah.
And the Hamas population is 30,000. So that's why I would say it sounds like they're bombing targets where there is Hamas, because that's why the ratio of Hamas deaths is
Well,
so
we
much
know-
higher than the ratio of civilian deaths.
Right, but we
because-
know that Hamas operates in these areas. Yes, it's that Israel, at the very least, doesn't care whether it's killing civilians. And like I say, the fact that they're literally saying that, it's impossible to even know what the overall percentage of the numbers of terrorists that Israel claims to have killed are actually terrorists. That would be really interesting to know that. Because they're targeting these specific areas and saying that everyone within inside that area is a legitimate combatant, even though they just happen to fucking live there and be there, which again is their legal fucking right under international law. It suggests to me, at the very least, an incredibly laissez-faire attitude towards the killing of civilians. Do you know what I mean?
I'm going to admit I don't really know enough about the kill zone thing. We can maybe revisit that another day if you want to, because that's just on my list and I haven't reached it yet.
Okay.
But when we're talking about the fact that they don't care, this is an argument that I made since the beginning, is that it does seem very much like Israel has this military goal, but they're willing to accept fairly high levels of collateral damage in order to achieve it. For example, NATO has a set number of civilians per category of target. So they'll say like a really high up commander might be worth like 10 or 15 collateral deaths. Bin Laden was worth 30, I think, to the United States at one point. Some people are just worth, like small time people are worth nothing. Like middle of the ground might be worth 5, or pieces of like equipment might be worth 5 civilian deaths. And it seems to be with Israel that they are, based on the Jabalia strikes, I thought that they were much more accepting of high collateral numbers, that they were willing to take out like 40 or 50 people for what seemed to be a couple of, like a commander, their escort of like 10, 15 people, and then like a couple of tunnels. That seemed quite high to me. To say
that seems
whether or not it's
extraordinary.
illegal in terms of
that's a
proportionality,
fucking,
I don't know, but
that's a bloodbath.
like
50
yeah, so
fucking
whether or not
civilians for
that-
one dude. That's a bloodbath.
no, it wasn't. It wasn't for one dude. It was for a dude, and it was for the one commander plus troops who were escorting him plus tunnels. So it was like a multitude of things. Again, I still think for NATO, they would just say, we'll make the collateral acceptance the value of the highest target. So we'll just say, even though it's a commander, an escort, and tunnels, well, we'll just find out whatever the collateral number is for commanders. For Israel, it sounds like they're taking each value and adding them up. I don't know if that's illegal under international law. You're not really expected to have any cap when it comes to, you're just supposed to show that whatever military gain
exactly.
versus collateral death.
Exactly,
But
yeah. You're
that,
not supposed to
I
have a fucking
argue,
number
and
on
this
it.
is an argument I've made for a while, is that I think it wouldn't be too difficult to accuse Israel of committing war crimes, especially if they're pursuing that with recklessness, like an intentional willingness to be reckless when it comes to civilian casualties. I've made that argument since before October 7th, that recklessness is how they tend to act. So they are disproportionate. So, but I don't think that constitutes genocide. That's the
In
claim
all
I'm making.
honesty,
Not say- yeah.
I'm getting the impression. Oh God, I don't want to fall out over this. I really don't. But it seems to me that you almost get it, but you stop short on the basis of a kind of optics cucking, I guess, is the phrase that sometimes gets used, rather unfortunately. That you don't want to be the extremist in lib circles or whatever. You don't want to be that person, and so you're not prepared to use the G word to describe.
Have I demonstrated any like lack of facts or understanding or anything throughout this conversation?
No, but
Or-
you can. I mean, in ultimately, because there's been no legal ruling on this, and there very probably won't be. I doubt any of the Israeli leaders will ever face any fucking justice for their crimes. We can't say in a legal sense definitively whether they have or haven't done X, Y, and Z. So this is just a conversation between two dickheads on the internet at the end of the day. So you can spin facts however you damn well please. Zionist propagandists do it every fucking day, and that's, by the way, not me accusing you of that. I'm just saying people do it every day, and they've done it unfortunately rather effectively for a great deal of time. So, in terms of facts or whatever, yeah, I'm sure many of the things you've said have been factually correct. I'd have to check some of them, and I will go back and check after we're finished with this the claims that you've made, because again, you've brought up things that I'm not necessarily aware of, and you've asked questions that I don't have answers to at the moment. So yeah, I don't think you're a fucking liar or a piece of shit or anything like that. I just think there's a lack of a certain empathy on your part. I think you're prepared to, say, dance on the head of a pin over minor details of like fucking evil. Like it just seems really odd to me that that's the rhetorical strategy you've taken.
I don't think the contentions are as minor. Like, I think if the initial claim is that, for example, like with the starvation thing, even though it seems to be that a lot of the claims that surround that are just like factually incorrect, then I think it's worth pointing out that they're factually incorrect. But as far as the genocide, I don't need a court to tell me that there's a genocide happening. I think it's quite clear. I think it's quite easy to see how what China's doing to the Uyghurs to fall under the Genocide Convention because of that Part E or D, is it, imposing measures to prevent births, because they,
Yes.
at least according to the allegations, mass sterilized like 2 million people or whatever. It's like, okay, well, why did you do that? That's like a very open and shut one, I think. But when it comes to what's happening here, like I just don't. I don't think this looks like any other genocide that's happened in history. I don't think. I think if Israel wanted to commit a genocide,
it doesn't really
the
have
actions
to.
would be very, very different. Like
Each genocide has its own peculiarities. I mean, for instance, famously, of course, people bring up the Holocaust in this discussion rather a lot. Sometimes not very fairly, sometimes rather crassly. But that itself is the only industrialized slaughter. It doesn't look like a great many of the genocides in history either. It stands alone in its scale and technical aspects and all the rest of it. But it's still clearly a genocide, and one of the most obvious genocides that's ever occurred. So just saying this doesn't look like others doesn't mean anything. It could be a complete freak occurrence type genocide, but it could still be a genocide.
But I mean, this one doesn't look like a genocide because they seem to be taking so many measures that go against it. Like, for example, when one side's saying they're intentionally starving the population, but then the facts actually show that they're allowing more food into the Strip than has ever gone into Gaza ever, arguably, then I'm like, well, okay, that just seems to completely clash. Or when people say that they're not adhering to the principle of distinction, but then it seems to be like they've taken out at least 20, possibly 40, 45% of Hamas's military population and only 1% of the civilian population, seems to be that their targets are Hamas. Or when people look at some of these quotes, and I go and I look at the full quote, and
areas in which
they're specifying Hamas.
It's like they're targeting areas in which Hamas operate. I don't think they give two fucks about the fact that they're going to kill lots of civilians as well. Now, that of course will lead to the charge of human shields, etc. But again, if you're going to label every single person in that area as a terrorist, then you're essentially saying anyone in that area is fair game.
So,
which is indistinct.
If you're saying that they're targeting Hamas, but they just don't care about collateral that comes alongside it, right? That would not be genocide.
No, but I'm saying they clarify, they specifically say anyone in that kill area is a terrorist, which again is not distinguishing.
I would need to revisit the.
And I would argue that you ought to, because I think that's a rather important point in this, because that is literally not drawing a distinction between civilians and active combatants. That's not just collateral damage, that's essentially fucking murder at that point.
So just out of interest, what's the claim is that they went into a particular area that wasn't specified to the Palestinians, and they killed any male between 16 and 45 or something?
Yes, I'll get the link for you when we're done, because I think we're running out of steam here. But I'll get the link for you. It's in the fucking database thing. The kill area thing, which I mean you could probably find a lot of the information yourself, but I will send that to you when we're done. Yeah.
Because I can see Haaretz, and then everyone else talking about it is what we got: Al Jazeera, New Arab, TRT, World Middle East Eye. What was this? Was this based on an interview? Was this based on IDF documents, or was this based on someone said it? Or
I think it was IDF documents. It was the numbers that they had revealed themselves. Yeah, so that's what they were targeting. I'd have to get the link up for you. But again, you can look.
Yeah, we can revisit that one another time. Like if they've done that. That would be definitely like a example of a war crime or a crime against humanity. Whether it would constitute genocide, I still don't think so. Because,
so you're never going to accept it then? Again, I'm talking to a wall, man. It's a shame.
No, it's because I don't think like you understand there's a reason that people don't call Dresden genocide, right?
Some
Even
people,
though they
some
were
people
basically
do
killing
actually.
whoever.
Some people do actually, and I think
Okay,
there's
like
an
any
argument.
like
I think there's
are
an
there
argument to be
historians or any
made.
like serious people who say that or what?
Yeah, no, there are serious historians who claim that. Yeah, I think so. And to be honest, there's an argument. I mean, it's nuanced, and everyone involved is dead, so it's not really fucking relevant anymore. But I think there's an argument to be made that the targeting of certain cities, especially by Bomber Harris, who specifically said that he wasn't interested in necessarily shortening the war, but he wanted to kill lots of Germans. I think there's an argument to be made there that there was a that did constitute in some respects genocide. Yes. Not necessarily by everyone involved, but it's There's like it would be an interesting legal case if nothing else, because they targeted cities specifically to kill people. They were trying to smash cities rather than necessarily like military targets or whatever. Which again would fall under the same basic principle here of it not distinguishing between civilians and enemy combatants. Now, did international law exist on that basis then? No, so you couldn't really try them under genocide law because it didn't exist. But again,
Yeah, you don't need the law again because obviously the Holocaust came in before the Genocide Convention. Armenia was before the convention. Yeah.
Yeah. But either way, it would be an interesting. So the same actually is true to a degree with the dropping of the atomic bomb. There are some people who would claim that to be genocide as well.
Yeah, I'd like to know which historians make that claim, but I don't think I know people people in different parts of the humanities might say it, but I don't think I've ever heard it come from like based under the convention. I don't think I've heard that.
Well, whether we were under the convention, I guess. I get the part of the problem, of course, as I think pointed out at the start, wasn't it, that that Lemkin himself, the guy who literally coined the term, didn't think that the UN definition was broad enough. Didn't think it included enough of the aspects of what he considered to be genocide.
Yeah, and the problem is we can't really do much with that because unfortunately, since his one wasn't taken, there's no precedent for it. So we don't when it comes to the current convention, we know what they mean by bodily or mental harm. It's basically always used in reference to like rape as a means of or torture as a means of like literally making it impossible for them to live a meaningful life like going forward and shit like that. So
okay, that's an interesting point. Would the stories of the mistreatment of Palestinian civilians, would that be at least admissible as part of the case in your eyes?
If there was like an IDF unit like raping people.
Well, there's been stories that are coming out of Palestinians who've been released who've been certainly have claimed to have been sexually assaulted. I can't prove anything, but that's
so I've seen from the UN that the claims against them is like prolonged forced nudity and humiliation or like invasive searches and stuff like that. Genocide, no, but abusive, atrocious, yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay. Okay. On that note, I think we'll. Unless you've got anything further to say or ask or whatever, I think we'll step back from this because I'm on the verge of fucking going mental, frankly. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well, this conversation has been dispiriting, in all honesty. It's been really fucking depressing.
Okay.
Yeah. Everyone go and check out LonerBox's stuff.
Okay. Take care, man.
Bye-bye. I fucking hated every second. That was cancer. I am genuinely shocked and a bit disgusted. I didn't think he was going to take that approach to it. I haven't followed a lot of his content on this. I didn't think he was going to sound like a fucking Zionist. That was. No, that's the wrong one. I'll put the alert box back on now if you want to give me money to make any of this basically worthwhile. You can do. Oh, fucking. What do I say to that? What do I even fucking say? Well, actually, they haven't bombed every hospital flat. Okay. You want to die on that hill? Go for it, I guess. Fucking mad shit. Yeah. I did have some other things planned, but I don't know. Yeah, if you want to, thank you, Kieran, for bits, by the way, much love. Yeah, if you want to give bits and do subs and all the rest of it, these things are available to you. On the YouTubes, you can do super chats and or become a member for as little as
Have a kitty bonk and the last of my bits.
Thank you very much, Wayward Historian. If I were a Destiny head, it was a logic chopping fallacy. I think I'd say ignoring the main topic to argue over details. That was part of the problem. Yeah. How did I do? I mean, look, I don't know what else to say. Thank you. Hello, Chris X. You should hit the follow button. You should hit the follow button. Make any of what I just fucking experienced worthwhile. I noticed LonerBox wasn't streaming at the same time. Really? That's interesting, because he was earlier. Why did he stop streaming? That's very peculiar. Anyway. Yeah, how did I do?
We got him! Victory is ours!
Thank you very much, Chris. How did I do? I always like to get a bit of feedback at the end of these things. Like, how did I, how did I do? Apologies that I'm a little bit downbeat now, because I don't think LonerBox is fucking evil or anything like that, okay? I really don't. So it's enormously dispiriting to see him talk shit. What's this?
Being the only capybara.
Yeah, capybara.
The closest thing that he's got to size is pot-bellied pig that he thinks is his girlfriend.
Yeah. It seems to see the Uyghurs as genocide, but not this idea. I don't know what to say. There's a clear double standard. Yeah, that's the thing, right? And that's why I had to bring up the point about optics cocking, because I think it's basically that. I think... Is he becoming like a Destiny person? Is that what's happening? I don't know. I don't know what they're up to. You know? Hopefully I made some decent points, but yeah. Oh, I saw No Justice in the YouTube chat as well. Hello, No Justice. How are you? Did they raid in? Is that what happened? Something happened. I don't know. Only 10 out of the 36. Yeah. The problem is, chat, and God bless you. When you post stuff in the chat during a debate, it's difficult to read it as I'm going along. It's difficult to do the thing, you know. So yeah, you try not to get distracted because you're trying to follow the point the person's making. So if you're reading the thing and trying to listen to the person, it becomes like I get distracted at the fucking the tiniest things, you know. Oh, I need to decompress. What can we watch to decompress? What can we watch? We need to watch something like fun or not fucking depressing beyond belief. You know? Thank you, Melanie Cosmic Fox, for being nice in chat. Much love.
Stop it. Get some help.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis, for resubscribing. Much love. Okay.
Stop it.
Oh.
Get some help.
Thank you, Scrubby, for resubscribing. 25 months. Much love. Why didn't that trigger a fucking thing? We should be on a hype train now, but we're not. I don't know. Anyway, let's. Yeah, we need to watch something funny. I need to watch something funny. I don't know. I went into Albie's chat saying it was genocidal several months ago, and he convinced me. He's not downplaying the atrocity, just saying it isn't genocide. Fair enough, I guess. I mean, it's not, but whatever. Thank you, Bob Leonard. Much love. Well, thank you, Mithril, for gifting 5 subs. Much love. What the fuck is this? Oh, this is a classic. This is a fucking classic. Oh. Capybara having a fart. What's not to love? Now we're rocking. This is the content people want. They don't want hardcore fucking conversations about whatever, you know. Zionist Karens are out of control. Let's have a look.
Can sometimes be hard to spot, but thankfully there is a ton of Zionist content online that doesn't exactly prioritize subtlety. As a disclaimer, there is a worldwide militarized misinformation ecosystem dedicated to conflating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism.
When they say from the river to the sea, they say without any Jews. When they demonstrate on campuses against Israel, that means without Jews.
So this is
Adolf Hitler's book, translated to Arabic.
Oh, you're waiting in the foyer in Discord. Oh, okay, you want to come on? Yeah, okay. It's alright. Yeah, I suppose we can do a phone in if you want or whatever. I don't know. What we got? Yellow. John.
Hello, how you doing, dude?
I'm very well. Who's screaming?
I'm outside at the moment, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, just getting some nice peace and quiet. I was having a walk and I was listening a little bit to your talk with LonerBox.
Right, okay. How are you?
I'm good. I'd like to make a couple of quick concessions off the bat, if you'd allow me. So, the first one I'd make is I fully agree that Israel, or at least actors within Israel's government and military, are probably guilty of war crimes. And I do think as well that Israel have been pretty reckless when it comes to their military campaigns. That said, I do not believe even remotely that a genocide or an apartheid is happening. And for that matter as well, I think that ethically, regardless of how you feel about Israel,
if you can't, no offense, no, can I just stop? If you're going to be in like a wind tunnel, this conversation can't take place, mate. Like I can barely hear what you're saying.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, we'll do it another time then.
Okay, thanks, John. Okay, take care.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Apologies. That audio was just unacceptable, even by my dodgy as fuck low standards. That was No, that wasn't LonerBox again. That was a different Scottish person. There are more. There's more than just LonerBox and Shrek in Scotland. Okay.
Mein Kampf. Well, this book was found just a few days ago in northern Gaza in a children's
Of course it was. Yeah, naturally.
living room.
I forgot about this belter.
אייפד שמצאנו וכנראה של איזה נערה מתבגרת. עכשיו, מה אתה חושב שהיא תשים בתור תמונת שומר מסך? איזה נועה קילה או משהו, כן? קבל.
This screensaver is Hitler! Imagine a teenage girl's iPad having the fucking screensaver as fucking Hitler. Oh. That's amazing.
In the way that these people are defending is no different than American westward expansion in the Manifest Destiny era. One of the bloodiest and most hostile times in American history, similarly whitewashed to hide the annihilation of indigenous people and the vandalism of their land. The American state has every reason to aid and undermine the severity of what the IDF is doing to further aid their agenda in the region, fuel the military-industrial complex, and show solidarity with another ally in colonial genocide. Israel is a violent, segregated, hyper-militarized, expansionist puppet state that seems to remain completely unchecked by the powers that be. Despite the gruesome reality of the actions of the Israeli occupation forces, there are tons of people online participating in the most embarrassing propaganda possible. Shameless videos full of lies and manipulation, but it's also some of the most cringe I think I've ever seen. I didn't know it could get this bad, really. I never expected this. And remember, there is nothing more cringe than defending war. Press subscribe. The first person I want to talk about
True, you can also do that on YouTube.
I had no idea who this person was. I just saw the video that I'm about to show you. But according to Wikipedia, they are an Israeli activist, actress, model,
Rohak, that link is bad, apparently.
Producer and writer. Writer is doing a lot of work in that sentence, considering she's only written one book called Israel, a simple guide to the most misunderstood.
Oh, I've watched that one a million times.
Okay,
yeah.
so on page 5 of Israel, a simple guide to the most misunderstood country on earth, she describes her service in the IDF as basically a nightly USO tour where she performed sketch comedy and covered hit songs.
Apparently, I don't have a link for the Discord for the Patreon there for some reason. Can someone give non-binary the Patreon link thing? No, not that one. No. Hang on. Change.org. What's this? Oh no. The Goonagate people are fucking doing their nut. Slightly less boober. No. Stellar Blade is a phenomenal new game. We just launched on PlayStation 5 worldwide. There's a problem. The content has been censored from the original trailer version. We, as Gooners, want this content back. We relied on it. We wanted a game we could masturbate to. You have taken away our masturbatory aids. Nyeh.
Playing songs for the baby killers. What a job. They get sad, so you gotta make them do the cha-cha slide every now and again. Thank you for your service, Noah Tishby. She's known for Ghosts of Girlfriends Past from 2009. I don't know her from that. She was a co-executive producer on In Treatment. No writer tags, just that one book about how she was a IDF circus clown or whatever. Alright, so let's see what she has to say.
Hi everybody, so tonight the Grammys were hijacked in favor of Hamas agenda as
Hey! Hamas.
Singer Annie Lennox called for a ceasefire, denying Israel's right to defend itself and also not calling for the release of the hostages. So basically giving Hamas exactly what they wanted. You know, I think that next time a singer wants to do something that's good for humanity, they should probably call on the release of innocent women and a baby and a toddler from
Suck my dick.
the hands of a genocidal terrorist organization.
Why? Because, I mean, you're just going to fucking shoot them like the IDF did with the fucking 3 that were released. Also, you know the only way in which they've gotten people released is by releasing the hostages that Israel fucking has. It's just a hostage exchange between 2 sets of cunts. check out the videos of what? What am I checking out the videos of? I don't know what I'm checking the videos now. I
think that's probably a good idea.
That's all that's left. Noah thankfully did me the favor of writing out everything she said in the caption of the video. Tonight the Grammys were hijacked in favor of Hamas agenda. Listen to her hit that hard H.
So, tonight, the Grammys were hijacked.
Interesting choice of words, Noah.
In favor of Hamas agenda.
No, it's not. No, you've got to add a K to the front of it. Hamas. Hamas. If it doesn't sound like you're trying to choke down a chode, are you really even saying Hamas or not? If it does not sound like you have at least some genitals in your mouth, you basically support the Hamas.
Hamas agenda. Hamas is not pronounced that way. It's just pronounced Hamas.
As singer Annie Lennox called for a ceasefire, denying Israel's right to defend itself and also not calling for the release of the hostages.
I don't really know what Noah Tishby thinks ceasefire means, but it certainly...
Oh, the videos on the... Oh, okay, on the petition. Okay, what we got?
Hello, my name is Michael Lyon, and I bought a PS5 because I wanted to play Stellar Blade. I was promised that this game would be no censorship, unedited, unraw, just a great, amazing, even a Game of the Year contender. I think that it's not fair and okay that Sony has decided to censor the game, especially right at the release date. I think that's false advertising. I think that's not fair to the developer shift up.
Honestly, I think Roblox would be better for you. Figuratively and literally.
What's good, y'all? This is your boy Will Too Humble here. Man, how about y'all take the censorship off? Man, it's...
Censorship? It's like 5% less titty. It's like 5% less boober. That's censorship. Freedom of speech is one thing. Freedom of the boober is, I mean, is that the... Are you getting behind the Free the Nipple campaign? What's going on here?
It's freaking ridiculous, man. Let the people play the game that they spent $70 to $100 on. I just don't get the fact that you sit there and you've done something.
This is what annoys me. Gamers who give a fuck about, like, oh, the boober. Or, oh, they've made the ass slightly flatter. But don't give a fuck about, like, predatory microtransaction shit. Couldn't give a fuck about that. Couldn't give a fuck about, like, FIFA basically being the same game 5 years in a row, but charging you 100 fucking quid a time. Cunts, man. If this is your problem with the games industry, is slightly less boober, then go in terms of service yourself.
Because it's getting so much attraction. Like, let the gamers be gamers. Man, like, get that out of here. We'll Too Humble out.
Yeah, too humble. That's your problem, mate.
Censorship sucks in all of its forms.
It's already a banger.
So, developers, don't let Sony push you around. Demand
the boober
that the game you developed and would like released gets released, with none of the changes that Sony wants in there for whatever arbitrary reasons they would like them. So, again, Abby getting railed in Last of Us 2, good. Asian character in a game with too much cleavage, ooh, can't have that.
Oh yeah, that you really care about the Asian boober. Good for you. Oh, it's a thumb.
Abby from The Last of Us, Cyberpunk, Baldur's Gate, full frontal nudity, full
Baldur's Gate,
jiggle physics, full hardcore sex scenes. Not an
jiggle physics. Yeah, that's the problem with gaming. Some of them don't have the jiggle physics. Annie Lennox is based, apparently. Yeah, no, Annie Lennox is fucking based, yeah.
An ounce of it censored. Stellar Blade, 17 costumes. 17 were censored and added mesh to different areas so that they didn't show too much ass. Blood was also heavily censored. We got baited and switched out. We got lied to. It's false advertisement.
Good, you deserve it. Go fuck yourself.
What's happening right now is censorship on a stupid level. You know,
It is stupid, I'll give you that.
in Baldur's Gate 3, you can have bear sex and freaking...
You can have sex with a bear? You can have sex with a bear in that game? I missed that.
naked people, but God forbid Eve from Stellar Blade has a little bit of skin showing in her suit. Why can't we appreciate the art that Shift Up worked?
Yeah, definitely. It's an art thing, definitely.
Please Shift Up, please. Please uncensor Stellar Blade.
Where are you going? What? What? Are you in a fucking institution? What? I don't... Why are you fucking... Just sit down and make your video. Why are you having to, like, skulk around in the shadows? It's fucking weird.
Games would be fun that way. Oh boy.
Are you fucking real? Is this guy real? I feel like this guy's been placed here just to annoy me. What is he doing? And that's it. He didn't fucking edit out the weird noises at the end. What? He's my favourite. He's my favourite.
He doesn't deny Israel the right to defend itself. Not that it's defending itself by currently occupying and invading and leveling Gaza. Which, by the way, I mean, I personally feel like we're long past the time where calling for a ceasefire is even enough. It's the bare minimum. I mean, everyone in the
Bears! What is it with fucking bears right now?
United States and Israel just wants Israel to stop. It's not even about like hostage exchange yet. That's not the first step.
So basically giving Hamas exactly what they wanted. You know, I think that next time a singer
Oh,
will do something that's
sorry. You know, I did turn it down because they were shouting on the thing, or at least it was very loud.
for humanity, they should probably call on the release of innocent women and a baby and a toddler.
A baby and a toddler. I'm not so sure Israel cares that much about the hostages. Israel also has a number of hostages. We can't forget that. Prisoners of war, subject to torture. My favorite part about this video is that she starts it like she just ran into a room.
Hi, everybody. So tonight, the Grammys were hijacked in favor of Hamas agenda.
I don't really know what that's supposed to mean. Hamas's agenda? Is that what you're trying to say? Basically, guys, yeah, so the Grammys were just hijacked in favor of a Hamas agenda. Did you guys see it? You'll also notice, just a little kind of subtly, Noah Tishby here, who is talking about the Grammys and has never made music before, is on the stage, just in case you were wondering if this is really about Israel or if it's actually about her. Me.
You haven't figured it out yet. Let me explain something. Never in the history of
Yay, genocide via a gay.
The world has there been a genocide that could be ended by a terrorist group handing over hostages and surrendering.
Internationally touring stand-up comedian based in Europe. Literally the last thing he was in was a short called Du bist so wunderbar.
Wunderbar.
No respect for the German.
Wunderbar.
He was in a Fairly Odd movie. Daniel Ryan's first point here is pretty nice because it is just gaslighting. Hamas can't hand over the hostages until a ceasefire happens.
That's not how genocide works. Hitler wasn't like, hey, hand over our hostages and surrender Jews and we'll stop killing you.
I think it is genuinely very ignorant to act like the Holocaust is the only major genocide that has happened. You're doing that comparison to like weaponized trauma and just shut out opposition while justifying another genocide. It's very shameful. Also, there's no indication that handing over the hostages would do anything. Netanyahu has made it very clear what he intends to do.
It's a war. You see, what's actually happening is that the Islamists not...
It's a war. Shut the fuck up, dickhead. Woke genocide is still fucking genocide.
Terrorist group that's constantly telling us that they want to genocide the Jews and destroy Western civilization is trying to genocide the Jews and take over Western civilization.
I spilt my yerba. It's ironic to make points about Western civilization an unironic white supremacist neo-Nazi talking point. What do you mean Hamas is trying to destroy Western civilization? There are going to be humanitarian resources in the description of this video. I'm going to be donating, and I encourage you to please do the same if you can possibly spare it, or even send one of those links to someone who you think can. Hamas wants to kill the Jews and destroy Western civilization. I mean, both of these things are boogeymen that just aren't true. Western civilization is nothing. Western civilization is shopping malls and parking lots. Western civilization is the military-industrial complex and Chili's. Western civilization is also Hollywood movies, like the Fairly Odd movie. You gotta defend that, otherwise Daniel Ryan be out of a job.
It's called ideological subversion.
You are doing that right now.
That's why there's a bunch of purple-haired girls roaming the streets chanting, "There is only one solution."
I don't think you get to have a go at purple-haired people when you have, like, a pink and blue coat, mate. Like, are you the normal one in the room now?
An Antifada revolution. They do have a really good chance.
God, that was so fucking cringe. What the hell does he mean purple-haired what? Gay men really are the weakest link. To, like, immediately turn on purple-haired girls or whatever. Like, that's very clearly, like, vice signaling homophobia. In, like, the fucking I'm gay and homophobic fucking, who does that? Dave Rubin. Does anyone know who that is?
So wake the fuck up, stop being a bunch of hipster Nazis, and leave these Jews alone.
I'm dying. I think this is
That was the cringiest thing that's ever happened.
killing me.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm a power gay at the Sundance Film Festival, and I'm gonna find some gorgeous Jewish producer to hook me up with a TV show, because I have a genius level IQ.
Guy who believes in IQ because he got really big number on it. I'll believe the fucking racist ass IQ system. It's telling me I'm smart.
I'm fabulously funny, and I single-handedly ended global anti-Semitism.
Some of the people chanting Intifada Revolution are Jewish. Marjorie Taylor Greene's a fucking Zionist. You know what I mean? That's whose side you're on. Ask yourself, why do Christian Republicans love Israel so much? Maybe it's because it's like their ideal military state. Racially segregated. Right-wingers love that shit. Also, sorry, he said he was gonna get hooked up with a TV show? What does that mean? I don't think that's how it works. You find a producer and you're like, hey, and he gives you the show because you have a genius level IQ. I like boasting your IQ and then not saying what it is. It's genius level.
69.
I'm sorry for what I'm about to expose you to. I don't know who the damn this woman is. Some influencer who talks about Israel all the time. She's not like important enough to have a Wikipedia.
All I'm going to say is if he doesn't give an honourable mention to Michael Rappaport, who is the biggest slay queen of them all, I'll be disappointed.
Page, and her bio doesn't say anything, but let's hear what she has to say.
Oh, hello, Hamas lovers, and Ahlan wa sahlan. What do you think? No one sees your tactics? It's like everything you and your lovers do, you're trying to blame on the Jews so that the world will not talk about you. Zionism is colonialism. Education, more like ignoration.
The fuck? What? This isn't helping recombobulate my brain. This isn't helping. This is confusing me more. My brain is fried.
What do you mean you're trying to blame the Jews so no one will talk about
ignoration?
Is that directed to Hamas or the Hamas lovers? Education, more like ignoration.
The last time I checked,
we need to make ignoration a word. It's beautiful.
Cleopatra and Pharaoh were Egyptians, not Arabs, not Muslims.
What the fuck? Egyptian?
What? What? What is going on here? Tesla driving. That's a belter. You know what? Respect.
What's up,
Respect.
guys? Welcome back to the brand new video, and today I can't believe I'm saying this, but we are switching to electric mode, which means today we're going to be watching some Tesla driving fails. And now, of course, without any further ado, sit back, relax, and let's dive into this. Whoa! obviously this guy has much more battery cells than brain cells, but it is what it is. Oh, you know what those 3 beeps mean? It means that it's time to deploy some power. Let's go. I thought most of the Tesla drivers are boring, but definitely not this one. Oh no!
Ooh.
Although that guy was first, he definitely didn't win. And that wouldn't be the case, of course, if he was DJ Khaled. Hello there, Cybertruck. What was that all about? What do you think about the Cybertruck, guys? Let me know in the comments. And for me, I have mixed feelings about it. I definitely wouldn't buy it, but I would take it for a spin. Why not? And I also think that car would be fun for about 7 days, and then it would be like, yeah, whatever. And now I present to you the Pirates of the Caribbean. The submerged EVs don't tell tales. So this guy decided to get the hell out of there, which is a good idea. Leroy Jenkins. Bro had too much Red Bull. And now we are moving to Winter Wonderland.
Hey!
When I see you again.
I don't know who the fuck this guy is, by the way.
No, no, no. Oh, that hurts. And as you can hear, this guy finds this very amusing. Tesla Tutorial 101, how to escape your parking ticket. First option, call Elon Musk and let him pay. Second option, do this. You see, it works perfectly. So
yeah.
We are moving on now. This is me every time someone tries to convince me to buy an electric vehicle. Oh, dearie me. That is one of many reasons why I don't like electric vehicles.
Is that an anti-theft device that's gone wrong, or just an explosion?
Thoughts win. And he did it.
That's still going.
Though, but for now we're gonna say he did it. I think that bro is having some funny ideas. Don't. No. Stay there. No. Well, it's safe to say that he intentionally or not just made a drive-through gym. And it's a 3 position.
And the fucking airbags didn't go off.
Even the car was like, yeah, let these fools crash.
Honestly, Teslas are a fucking...
like, yeah, I'm speed, baby. And I'm better than all of you.
Teslas are a death trap.
Oh, this is gonna be interesting. Come on now, power! Here he comes, and I believe I can fly. He's probably out there cheating him with the boys. That was epic. Whoa. What are you doing, bro? That's some kind of a EV joke I don't understand, or... Oh, here we have a demonstration of speed and power in silence. Ooh! Why is everybody acting like the Tesla has wings? That was the 3rd one so far. He was challenged by 2 friends to touch that truck.
What the fuck was that?
But yeah, by the way, guys, is it really true that Tesla's build quality is really bad? Because I've seen so many videos showing it, but I'm
yeah,
not
they've
sure
got
if
panel
they're fake or not.
gaps and shit.
So if you're a Tesla owner, please let me know in the comments what's your experience with these. Moving on to the next one. Excuse me, coming through, please move. Thank you. I'm just gonna turn right real quick. Of course, makes perfect sense. Power! That dude is like, I paid for the whole Duracell battery and I ain't afraid to use it. Hit my electric dust! The bro is wilding. Let's see here. And his name is John Cena. To a wild Tesla peers. Just like I said, you can update the car all you want with features, with safety features, but the driver, there's nothing you can do about him. Dingleberry is a dingleberry.
True.
Just like this one.
Jesus Christ.
That car probably has around 1,358 sensors to help the driver, but it's still not enough. Oh, someone made this guy angry. Be careful, because he probably has stolen some defibs from the ambulance, and now he's gonna use them on you. To make you more environmental friendly. And the dashcam guy is not backing off, of course, and he said to him, you better go back to your oversized lady shaver, boy. And now the Tesla driver is like, you're lucky I only have 15%.
I don't know. You get the idea.
Muslim isn't a race. Neither is Muslim. Arab is like an ethnicity. I don't understand what her point was there. I don't know why she said any of that.
That came from Arabia, conquered the whole area.
Arabia?
Yeah, baby, good for you.
Arabia.
Just stop saying it about the Jews. Wait, and what about the funny part you're saying about the Israelis? Go back to where you came from. And who says it? The immigrants from the streets of western cities.
Who? She like completely changed topic. The Arabs that came
Wow, she had to be racist there. Okay, cool.
from Arabia conquered the whole area of Arabia. And then she says, good for you, but stop saying it about the Jews. Are people saying the Jews conquered Arabia? Because that isn't true.
Go back to where you came from. And who says it? The immigrants from the streets of western cities.
No, Palestinians have said it. Wow, is this the best they got? This is fucking wild.
The immigrants?
Who left your Arab states only to immigrate to a place that you hate? You hate the culture, you hate the values, you hate the state.
I mean, I don't even know what country she's talking about.
So why did you leave your countries in the first place? Why?
Jump scare, dude. Holy shit.
Why? We had to leave our Arab countries because we did not have rights. So we got to Europe, and Europe, they have so many rights, and they treat us so nice. Suckers.
So immigrants in the streets of Western cities are complaining about their rights in those Western cities. I guess we're not talking about Israel anymore. The countries that she's not
it's just
naming,
right-wing
that
nonsense,
those non-specific immigrants hypothetically immigrated from to Europe, they don't have rights there either. So they should go back.
In Europe, they have so many rights, and they treat us so nice. Suckers.
That's so gross to be like that Islam.
255 says, my question is... Sorry, my IQ is 130. Why did the BBC have to be escorted by security instead of giving me a TV show when I was walked into Broadcasting House and demanded one? That's true, 255. You're the cleverest and you should have all of the shows. I'd watch.
Islamophobic, where you're like, yeah, immigrants seeking refuge from states destabilized by Britain and the United States.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Britain is innocent. I will not have this slander. America, bad. Britain, awesome.
They are exploiting Western governments for like their resources. I don't know. This is so fucking racist.
We will use the infidels' rights and values to conquer them in the
Wow, let's be super racist. Awesome.
end. We want the Sharia law again. Gotta love your common sense.
Gotta love your common sense. I don't think this horrible, horrible monster in a woman's clothes is able to communicate her extremely vile racist ideas properly. But I think she's
Melanie, that's an outrage. We did not start it. We just didn't not start it. So, Britain didn't not start it.
trying to say that the exploitative immigrants that are coming into European cities are trying to institute Sharia law. I don't fucking think she knows what that is. Sharia law is like the greatest boogeyman for Islamophobes to just throw out there.
And it's also interesting because did you know there are Beit Din courts for Jewish law as well? Just saying. Like, religious courts of arbitration exist. Whoops.
Whenever they want to stop the argument. I win because I'm scared. There are no Sharia laws in any Western government. So fucking stupid. It's just a complete fabrication. And the idea that the people fleeing places enforcing policies like that are trying to do them in the places they're fleeing to is just racist.
Oh dear. Hamas lovers. If you really hate your Western home, maybe, just maybe, you should go back to where you came from. Did you consider going back to Arabia? Because we did.
The fuck is Arabia?
We returned back to Judea. But you are right. Who wants to ride their camels and donkey to school every day?
Oh my god.
The fuck is wrong with this bitch? This is the problem, right? Zionist, like, propagandists like this, they can't have been this bad forever. When did they get this fucking lunatic? This just unhingedly racist.
It's not that you wanted a better life. You believe in Dar al-Islam. Fight and conquer infidels. Because we believe in peace. In salam. But you gotta understand. You taking over the West? Humanity cannot take this chance.
The fact that this person is able...
The fuck is wrong with this bitch? I don't even know what to say.
to like cosplay and intermingle as if they're like a liberal when they are like a far right fundamentalist nationalist fascist. I mean, like, this is actual Nazi shit. Who wants to ride camels and donkeys to school every day? The West cannot risk being taken over by the global threat that is Islam. I mean, fuck, man. How do you do this?
We need inventions. We need science. We need technology. Philosophy.
Well, we should import some Arabs then, because they invented mathematics, you cunt! Anyway. Yeah, Shakira law, absolutely. Although I couldn't really institute Shakira law, because my hips do lie. They're deceitful little cunts. My hips. And my breasts aren't small and humble. They regularly get confused with mountains.
Philosophy and truth.
Yeah, the Western world does need science that the Islamic world invented, but belligerent idiots are going to defend the status quo that makes them feel the safest. And Islam is very scary when you're a racist asshole.
We can't exist only on suicide bombers, shawarma, and hummus.
Oh my fucking god. This is some shit you would hear on Xbox Live in 2009. This,
Yeah, she is literally 1 second away from screaming, "You N-word Jew," and then, like, quitting. Like, she really is.
Horrible woman. Has several thousand followers and freely just makes this disgusting, hate-filled propaganda in honestly the most insufferable tone.
Oh, hello to the people of Gaza. I want to help you have a better life. All you need to do is stop playing victims all the time.
You said this is going to be a safe place. How many times did you lie to us about this place is being safe and then turning back and bombing us?
Israel has continually told refugees from Gaza to flee to certain places where they won't be bombing and then bombs them anyway. Civilians, emergency services.
Turning back and bombing us.
Do you know how the Jews survived? They always looked at the bright side.
Oh!
They all... sorry, some of the best sort of, like, pathos, fucking drama, existential philosophy, all kinds of shit was written by Jewish people. They always look at the bright side of life. It's not fucking Eric Idle. Actually, he might. I don't even know what religion he is. But yeah, did she confuse Monty Python with the Jews? Yeah. Some of the best, like, downbeat jokes and stuff. Or, well, I suppose that... Does that count as looking on the bright side? Gallows humour? Maybe. But, like... Oh. All I'll say is look into the works of people like what's his fucking name? Primo Levi. Look into the works of Primo Levi. One of the really great writers to come out of the generation that survived the Holocaust. Eventually ended up killing himself, of course. Wrote amazingly about the kind of negative aspects of life, I guess. Some superb writing. Not looking at the bright side. He really wasn't. Like, it's deep. Don't go in there for the yucks, because it's not there. But go in there with a yearning for the greatness of literature. And he was a Jewish man. So, anyway.
Oh.
I think you should say thank you to the Israelis that during war you are still well informed.
Yeah, thank them for lying to you and then killing you. What's your problem? Be grateful.
Where you should go? Well, I would not go to Egypt. So maybe, like the IDF said.
They're not allowed to go to Egypt. It's literally blocked. And it's ethnic displacement regardless, but yeah.
Go to the north. Yeah, the IDF is warning you. Oh no. You are talking to us about being safe? Now, I want to understand, safe like who? The people you murdered? The one you beheaded?
Are you talking about that little girl? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, evil. Yeah, that's fucked up, 255, yeah.
Like, this is explicitly about civilians. Because according to Israel, the Hamases are in the tunnel under the hospitals that they, you know, have to blow up. Like,
No, they haven't blown up the hospitals. Didn't you hear?
these are the evacuation paths that are getting bombed.
I'm
It's a-
so dispirited about all of that. God, it was fucking awful.
Good break. I got too pissed off.
Oh, you're talking about the only...
Sometimes ignorance is bliss. Don't talk to people you like about things that are depressing or whatever, you know.
Jews, you love being in Gaza, you don't like the IDF, but you love the Jews inside your tunnel racks. You opened a
What?
war. Maybe you should also complain that the IDF
You opened a war?
did not give you a massage, maybe a glass of wine next to
Indeed, Wayward, indeed.
some candlelight. After October 7th, you better save your complaints.
I'm no pearl clutcher, but there's something that's really disturbing me about the way Zionists like this talk about warfare like it's a fucking video game or a movie. I really feel like the media has contributed to this like anything goes mentality where people use the excuse that it's a war. It's like, yeah, we blow up hospitals, it's a war, you get to kill. And it's like, no, there's rules. You can't just do whatever you want, especially when you're occupying land that don't really belong to you.
And should protect you. They got more than 80% of your support. But you want to complain to the people you slaughtered. We lied to you. Say thank you. We are even talking to you.
What?
You are the most pampered, spoiled, and privileged people I've ever saw.
That is just a deranged
Yeah, she is fucking mental.
thing to say.
Listen, someone gotta say it to your face. For decades, you are the same. You don't evolve, you don't change. All you are about is violence and alligator tears. Even COVID was
Not even crocodile tears, alligator tears. The kinds of tears that like to go and roll around in some dust as well. Fuck yes.
able to evolve. Couple of times in the last couple of years.
I don't understand what makes a person like this.
Well, Biden, did I just hear that you're threatening not to send us military aid? He's doing exactly what Hamas wants.
Yes, Joe Biden is Hamas. Fact.
Such a gross catchphrase. You're doing exactly what Hamas wants. It's just the new version of you're letting the terrorists win.
What the progressives and the radical left and the woke and the anti-Semites and the radical Muslim world and all terror organizations, this is exactly what they want. By making this decision, terrorists got to you. You have balls, but only when you're talking to the Israelis, right?
But that's insane to say that. You're insane.
Like, he's literally... we call him Genocide Joe. Like, what more could they possibly want from him, really? How many fucking UN votes does he have to veto? And you're still gonna shit on him? Like, this is... honestly, America and Israel's relationship is just a kind of horrific cockery. It's embarrassing.
She literally has so many videos. It's just endless. Hateful derangement. And people
I've
are
seen that
constantly
before,
clowning
Sully,
on
yeah.
her. Oh, I guess she started posting in English. I wonder why. This next one's really bad. Mayim Bialik, I guess she's a neuroscientist.
Oh, this fucking twat. She was from the Big Bang Theory.
She met God and saw the future. Mayim posts her reaction to Stand Up Dan Adut because it was making her laugh so hard. I thought you should see how hard I was laughing, and maybe you need a laugh from Dan Adut too. I'll tell you, you're not gonna get one. This video is genuinely really perplexing because I don't think she was recording while she was watching it for the first time. I think she watched it, thought it was so hysterical that she decided to watch it again and record her reaction, mimicking how funny she thought it was the first time.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I'm like, this is the new from the window to the wall.
That's literally...
What? That's not even a joke. What does that mean?
just reference humor. You guys remember that?
Yeah, it's a little genocidal, but the beat slaps. Listen to ours, they're awesome.
Yeah.
But that would work if From the Window to the Wall was about genocide and not just about fucking. What? That's not... Why is that funny? Like, even if you're a Zionist, why is that funny?
Wipe the tears away. You're laughing so hard at the window to the wall joke.
Because Jews like to convince you with a bunch of facts and minutia, rather than just sticking to a catchy tune, right? They're like, okay, guys, we're gonna do one of those chants, okay? It goes, when I say X, you say Y. X, Y, X, Y. Okay, here we go. When I say that in 1948 there was a UN partition plan.
She started laughing when he said in 1948, the year the Nakba happened, the genocide. Obviously that's not intentional because she's pretending to laugh, but the fact that she laughed at that moment is not lost on me.
Giving a separate state of Palestine alongside a state of Israel, and the Palestinians rejected it and the Israelis accepted it.
Yeah, I wonder why the Israelis accepted a partition plan that was like, hey, Palestine, you lose this amount of land and Israel becomes Israel on top of it. What do you mean they rejected it? That's such a good deal for them.
And then there was the War of Independence, which against all odds we won. And then in 1967...
We got him! Victory is ours!
This, honestly, this is rubbish. This is rubbish. Thank you, Stella Wingman, for following on Twitch. Don't forget, if you're on Twitch, you can hit the follow button, you can subscribe, you can do bits messages. 200 bits and more will get you a text-to-speech. If you're on YouTube, you can become a member for as little as 99p, or do a super chatty chat. These are things that are available to you to help me get over whatever the fuck I've experienced today. Honestly, and I mean this genuinely, I don't think anything I've done online has depressed me more than this. Because, like, when I'm talking to evil pricks, I expect them to say evil shit. But when I speak to someone I actually like, someone who I think is worthwhile, and they say the evil shit, that hurts. Do you know? You know, I've said in the past it's the hope that kills you. In this case, it's the respect that kills you.
There was the 6-Day War where all the Arab armies attacked us, and again, against all odds, we won.
She's laughing so hard, just lying about history in a funny voice. That's the joke. Unironically using the same...
Also, when he says us, he sounds American to me. That's not really a Middle Eastern accent, is it, you know? Well, that guy's American. Okay. Cool.
Same logic that a lot of us were taught in school to justify Native American genocide. We signed a treaty with them to take their stuff and them not kill us for it, and something happened, it got mixed up, but that is always contextualized after the fact by the Americans as the indigenous people breaking it first or doing something wrong to deserve it. America historically and throughout its contemporary history has had no intention of respecting indigenous land rights at all. So it makes perfect sense for America's pet project in the Middle East, Israel, to function very much the same way and not respect any of the treaties that are ever signed ever.
And then, of course, there was the Refugee Crisis Resolution 242, which we will take care of.
She's losing it to this. You can't be laughing this hard, for real. This is crazy.
And then in 1973 was the Yom Kippur War, where Egypt and all the other armies attacked, and again we won.
What is the joke? Why is she laughing so hard? She's turning red, dude. It's still going.
Gaza back to the
Yeah, take your glasses off. It's so funny.
Palestinians and
Oh
Hamas
man,
took
they're
over,
cracking up.
and then Waze is an application.
Hitting the reference humor button again.
So I guess what I'm saying is that every country has their problems. You say yeah.
She's still laughing. The people in the room aren't laughing. They're...
But to be fair, she was on The Big Bang Theory, so she knows bad comedy. This is just game respecting game, you know?
cheering and clapping. That's how you know you got a real funny set on your hands. Every country has their problems. Crazy way to justify something. The last of these guys I'm going to talk about is Michael Rappaport from The Simpsons. Made a lot of these videos. I think he's...
Whoop, 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 whoop. You have to mention Rappaport. Rappaport has been the fucking highlight for me of all... not of the war doesn't have highlights, but the stupid online reaction to it. Right? He's been... oh, God, he's such a fucking clown. Again, he's the ultimate example. Him and Fartlow are the ultimate examples of, like, how bad Zionist propaganda actually is. Fucking atrocious. Beautiful. Beautiful.
He's in Israel currently, just constantly making videos about how nothing is wrong.
All right, I'm in Jerusalem at the Machane Yehuda market. I'm looking for the apartheid, okay? In Israel, I am looking for the apartheid. I just asked all these people, not one person is able to tell me where the apartheid is. So I'm...
The fact that you're only around one type of people in that particular location does not necessarily, my friend, entail that you are not in an apartheid situation. In fact, that's what one would expect if you were in an apartheid situation. I went to downtown Cape Town in 1982 and I asked all the white people, where's the apartheid? And they went, no, it's fine here, isn't it? Anyway, let's go to the whites only beach.
I'm asking you on this platform, since you're so smart, to tell me where I can go to actually witness the apartheid. You guys know where the apartheid is?
No. I don't think he knows what apartheid is. He doesn't know how to say it. Apartheid? Yeah, I don't know where that is either, Michael.
Well, considering he said Israelian instead of Israeli for one of the things. Israelian. I mean, I do a joke where the Nazis refer to people as, like, moon Jews, because that's a thing. I won't go into it, but it's a whole fucking thing where they think that the Hebrews were from space. Mental. Anyway. Whereas Israelian would suggest that the moon Jews is a real thing, according to Michael Rappaport. Well, horseshoe theory confirmed, clearly.
No idea. No one knows where the apartheid is, but I'm sure you can tell me. Let me know where the apartheid in Israel is.
Someone obviously replied to this with a segregated road Palestinians are literally not allowed to legally drive on. And this...
Yeah, they literally built a fucking wall, mate. Like, yeah.
This highway leads to an illegal Israeli settlement. His response was, I had one of the best home-cooked farm-to-table...
You think Michael Rappaport is from New York. You think he's from New York. That man could not be more New York coded if he tried. Like, literally, he might as well just have the word gabagool fucking emblazoned on his forehead. He could not be more fucking New York. He is a slice of pizza pie, okay? He is the New York Yankees logo. He is the statue of cunting liberty. When I think of twat from New York, I think of Michael Rappaport. That's him. That's it.
Table meals of my life last night in one of those settlements. Fuck your stock footage. He had all this. You think there's apartheid in this country? Look at this bowl of green. I ate that and it was fucking delicious. Almost as good as a bowl of white. So yeah, there's no apartheid because Michael Rappaport had a good, nice little dinner meal in one of the settlements.
White.
One of them, I don't know.
True.
Oh, he retweets Einav. That's not...
Oh no, what's this? Europe explained whiteness. Okay, here we go.
People. We might not have the pass, but we got the food, the culture, the privilege. We even got a whole region of the world named after us. Well, the other day, a map...
Technically the other way around, but okay.
App that's been going around the internet for a few months or so was brought to my attention, and frankly I think in some places it's completely wrong. When it comes to some regions, this shit is more inaccurate and misinformed than a 4chan user talking about women. Okay, this shit is completely wrong. To start off, I'm gonna add a couple extra categories, right? Firstly, beige. This is for countries that need a little bit of differentiation from whatever this shit is, you know? They got a bit of flavor. They got a bit of spice. And then also Mega 9000 white boy level. These are people who are like so white they don't even count as white. They're their own thing. Looking at them is like staring into a floodlight, okay? It's gonna hurt your eyes for
Is this going to be like fucking Norwegians or some shit?
hours, and you'll be seeing them when you blink for days to come. Right, I'm gonna start off in the UK. Wales, you guys would be in the Ultra 9000 white boy category. I mean, you guys eat this shit and have more sheep than humans. However, I'll give it them, they were viciously colonized, culturally cleansed, and enslaved into lives of coal shoveling misery. So I think it's only fair to give them the too oppressed to be white, despite half the population being whiter than white itself. Scotland, I know you guys had it like terrible back then as well, but haggis, lake monsters.
Can I just say, haggis is, when you think about what it is, one of the most disgusting things that human beings have ever eaten. I try not to think of it though, and I ate it, and it's fucking delicious. Okay, it's like black pudding. Actually, I should explain that for Americans. That's not a racist term. It's because the thing is black. I think in America you refer to it as blood sausage. It's it's up there with haggis as one of the most disgusting things in the history of the world. But it's very, very, very nice. So just fucking deal with it. You know? Labour runs Wales though, Kev. True. True. Black pudding is vile. Your mum is vile. That's not fair, I don't know her. She's probably lovely. Yeah. Hello there, Billy Zane fan. Welcome aboard. Explain the lake monsters. I can't. They're just there.
These hats, this music.
Yeah, honestly, the bagpipe is an unacceptable curse upon humanity. It just is, okay? Who thought, what would it be like if we strangled a sheep and then made it a musical instrument? Awful. It's not music, it's torture.
Look, I'm not gonna give you Ultra 9000 white boy status, but you guys are at least going green, I can't lie. England, yeah, okay, I know it goes without saying. Extremely fucking white. Too white for its own good sometimes, some might say. But I've gotta play devil's advocate for it.
Yeah, I do. Birmingham, I fucking hate it. It's a shithole. The people are all fucking dickheads. Why has he turned into a cockney? I don't know.
Second, because you know, in the past this country did some white boy things that now mean where.
Whoa! We did a little bit. It's a little bit of white boy stuff. Yeah, that's ages ago.
Where in Europe can you get the best, spiciest balti? Brum. Where in Europe can you get the most flavorful, well-spiced curry goat? South London. Where does the best rap, jazz, matter of fact, any music in Europe come from? England. And for that reason, I gotta give it a beige. Northern Ireland. Yeah, I think you four guys are pretty white. Honestly, not much more to say about that one. And the original poster got Ireland right. I agree, obviously.
Enjoy a few pints with the lads tonight. Up the rah.
Up the rah, Nigel. I mean,
So, let's...
Up the rah. The only... Look, we support the... And I assume this is what Nigel was referring to. We absolutely, on this channel, support the Inflation Reduction Act. Okay? We do. Unequivocally. Massive support for the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act in America. Huge fans of the IRA.
Let's move on to mainland Europe. But before we get into that, are you fed up with dropping all your cards and money whenever you go?
No, I'm not. You look at this fucking stash as
Mainland
well.
Europe. But before we...
What in the fuck is that going on there? What the fuck is on your face, sir? You have two slugs that are going in for a kiss. What the fuck is that? You know me on the channel. I'm a fan of face furniture. Obviously, look at me. I look like I'm in the Hamas, right? But that is grotesque. You're a fucking abomination.
We get into that, or conventional wallets, and they've got built reason for grade aluminium 5 or X. And where do I put my stands a deal for 30? Obviously, one off. Go grab one now, and I know you want.
Go and grab a fucking razor.
to. So the Benelux area, obviously white person central. I mean, so white in fact that every Christmas they like to bring out some questionable traditions. Somehow though,
Swatty Pete.
Luxembourg got away with the didn't commit enough war crimes card. Bruh, they were out in the fucking Congo doing that shit too, okay? Oh, suddenly all the Luxembourgish citizens have long-term memory problems, huh? Blame it all on the Belgians, huh? For those of you who don't know, the Belgian Congo occupation is statistically the worst act of genocide in all of history since Genghis Khan. And Luxembourg's generals and secret army officials were all out there loving it, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. What's this? But if you look if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like there's an apartheid at all? True. True. Rappaport, you know what? Best, most, unironically, best Rappaport argument. True.
Yeah, didn't commit enough war crimes, my ass. If anything, they should be considered worse than anyone else. Since, you know, Belgium was given that land to control. Luxembourg wasn't given shit.
Technically, Belgium wasn't even given the land. King Leopold was, personally. He wasn't even owned by Belgium.
By choice, were out there begging for a slice of the pie. That pie's filling being 10 million innocent human casualties. I think I can safely colour that one.
Were they all innocent though, when you think about it? I'm going to hell anyway, you know.
In green, you know. France, yep, adds up. I've been a couple times. None of those times did I eat anything even minorly spicy. I did, however, eat snails, moldy cheese, plain bread. You know, official white boy territory we're talking.
Yeah, they are pretty fucking white, to be honest.
Germany, fairly accurate, although at least they got currywurst. And you also got to take into account the massive Turkish population that single-handedly votes Erdogan in every single election, despite not even slightly being affected by their man crush literally collapsing Turkey through mismanagement and his genius financial policy known as cash bonfires. Anyway, Austria, Switzerland. Hey, look, man, anywhere that charges you 30 quid for a fucking Burger King automatically goes into this category. And I know Austria isn't quite as expensive as Switzerland, but my entire perception...
Not even going to mention Hitler. We're just gonna go over that one, are we?
Of Austria is it's where all the trust fund kids from Solihull go skiing. Plus they
Solihull, that's where I went to school.
Had Mozart.
I'm not a trust fund kid and I'm not from there, but you know.
And they also had that talented painter guy. Italy, I can't argue with that. When I was in Milan a month ago, I ate pizza literally for every single meal. And look, man, there's just no way the guy who made that shit didn't have some massive, bushy, dark eyebrows. I could taste the passion. I could taste the flavor. I could taste the culture that could only be transmitted into the food by a chef with some decent eyebrows. I like how they put Vatican City in green, valid, but then they put San Marino in red. Like, bruh, tell me one food from San Marino you f with so heavy that you're changing these people's deserved ethnicity. Bruh, I look up San Marino food. What the f is this? They have 0% tax. That's literally the only reason
the whitest thing ever.
Anyone would ever go to San Marino. You already know what category San Marino are going in, man. Spain is accurate, I think, especially since a big portion of its territories were Islamic and settled by Arabs from the...
Yeah, they're kind of spicy whites, the Spanish.
1000s to the 1400s.
And yeah, I know they did all that shit back then, but you gotta factor in, these guys had the biggest fall off of all time. They had dictators, they had civil wars. I mean, bruh, they're basically an honorary Balkan country at this point, you know? However...
Like I said, spicy whites. Yeah. True. Facts.
I am just gonna have to beige out this little bit here for obvious reasons.
Yes, true.
Also, these guys counted lichens
where all the people who voted for Brexit live, in South Spain.
Stein in their map, and not Gibraltar. It's like the last grasp of the British Empire, a fortress of whiteness. I swear that fucking rock is more British than Britain itself, and somehow the food is even fucking worse than in the mainland. So obviously it's getting that San Marino.
True. I have literally been. I've been to Gibraltar. It is very white. Also took a quick trip to Africa. It's the one time I've been to Africa. You can go just across the straits there on a boat. which makes me feel like I'm definitely, because I've been to Africa, I'm like Nelson Mandela.
Treatment, man. Andorra's gonna get a hard green. Like, the entire country is built around shopping. The capital is one gigantic mall. It's like the mailbox of Europe, full of white people getting
What's with all the Birmingham references? Let's chill the fuck out.
ripped off. Portugal, fair. I literally just can't argue.
Pastel de nata.
It's about the best thing to be invented since civilization itself. And I know the monks who invented it had some bushy ass non-Caucasian eyebrows, man. They had to. You can taste it. Okay, on to the Nordic countries, starting with Sweden. And you know, I'm not gonna say bro didn't do his research before making the map, but like, it might kind of be off a little bit here. I'll happily take it, you know. All I'm saying though, if fucking San Marino got red, Sweden should at least get a pink, because literally every other Nordic country just makes bad Swedish food and calls it their own. So we're definitely the cuisine goats of the region. But if I'm gonna be honest, the competition isn't massive. Yeah, I think you guys know what's coming for Iceland, don't you? I mean, you have to be the whitest shade of white possible. You have to have ascended paleness as a civilization to eat this fucking shit, to willingly live amongst active volcanoes, to consider 15 degrees a hot day. I actually think Iceland is the whitest country in the world. Straight up. Shortly followed by Norway. These guys need a color change for sure. They invented black metal, which, contrary to the name, is about the whitest music you could ever possibly imagine. Also, every single man over the age of 30 in Norway looks like this. The aura fall off has to be studied. This really what hydroelectric power plant money does to a man? And look, they got spooky churches, they got gas and oil, they got shit tons of money, and they keep it all to themselves. I like how they classed Hungary as too Asian to be white, and they ignored the fact that Finns are like Hungarians with just slightly less spicy food. Plus, when they absolutely murked the Russians back then, the Finns, they were using some crazy guerrilla tactics. Further proof they've got some Eastern intelligence going on, you know? Also, I think Finland has a hand in popularizing trap music, okay? If Future didn't have a Nokia brick, would he have been able to sell or buy paraphernalia like he did? No. And if he didn't sell or buy paraphernalia like he did, DS2 probably would have come out sounding very differently. And who invented Nokia bricks? Exactly. And because food definitely can't have a say in this outcome, I'm gonna color them in beige/blue. Okay, Czechoslovakia. I'm not an expert, honestly, though one thing I know is in Slovakia, they drink fucking rotten milk by choice instead of normal
Nasty bastards, man.
Milk. You should have seen the look of horror on my face when it blobbed out into my fucking tea. And I know Czechians get really angry and throw a hissy fit if you call them Eastern European, as opposed to beautiful civilized German boys. Plus, it's full of Airbnbs and bold British men looking for cheap So, respectfully, I'm giving them both a beige. All of this bit is fair-ish. I'm not going to change it much for now. Only thing, Hungary's food needs to be acknowledged, because that shit actually goes crazy.
Yo, the first time I tried goulash, I was hungry too, that's the thing. Like, my body went into shock, bro. I ate all that shit. It is the best food in Europe.
The OP acknowledging Bulgarian cuisine and not Hungary's cuisine is psychotic behavior. Legit, the only thing I saw in Bulgaria that wasn't just renamed Greek food was cabbage stuffed in peppers. Bruh. Yeah, we can remove those red lines, bro. Sorry. Also, the original poster's got some weird take about Croatia. Every Balkan country is labeled as too oppressed, apart from Croatia. You think they should be oppressed more, bruh? What does this mean? I don't get it. But yeah, aside from that, Balkans is pretty standard. Obviously, the food is fucking goated. Obviously, they are oppressed. But you gotta remember, they are the ones oppressing each other, you know? But whatever. Obviously, Greece is valid. Making me lose my train of thought just thinking about it. Although, I'd put some yellow stripes in there considering the current state of the country, you know? Turkey, cuisine, fucking amazing. Also, I know this video is probably going to get mass reported and sent to Erdogan, but I don't think it should be controversial to say Turkey is an Asian country. Then we're on to the Caucasus. Well, Georgia is the only one really in question here. And you know, I had to get the expert Gatsu to break it down on this one. I mean, I know we'll have an interesting take on it because, on God, I've heard this guy swear Georgians are white and also swear Georgians aren't white in the same sentence before.
Georgia, you have to stop. Your food too good. Your language.
Like, but it's Caucasians named after the Caucasus, and yet the Caucasus aren't considered white. It's very strange.
It's too swag. Your weed is too loud. They'll call you Asian. Georgians are not white because our food is too good. One time I tried fish and chips in Malta. Then you compare to this food given to us straight by gods, 100% satisfaction rate, this good weather, and you realize you cannot be related to Germans at all. Also, our language is not related to any other language at all. For example, it's not related to Latin, but as a counter argument, I think not being related to Italians makes us even more white. Honestly, Georgians just look like any other South Europeans or French people, like Quebecois as well, but Orthodox Christian instead of Catholic. So instead of we counter argument to that is it only applies when the beard is shaved. If I haven't shaved in like 2 weeks, I might as well be a Mujahideen fighter instead of Justin Trudeau. Also, there are some countries that are just unbelievably white, like fucking Iceland, and they're like relatively nobody is white. Bro, if I went to Iceland, I might as well be from Sudan to them, bro. But being Georgian grants you a lot of things. It grants you good food and the ability to switch races. I wanna be white, I shave my beard. I want to be an anti-American freedom fighter in the Middle East. You got that too, brother. You just grow your beard. A lot of people also have the question whether Georgia is in Europe or Asia, and the answer is both. It's a transcontinental country, so it is both in Eastern Europe and West Asia. If you go on Wikipedia, Google, or anywhere, you will also see this. But culture-wise, religion-wise, and everything-wise, Georgia is more European, and people identify as Europeans too.
Yeah,
I have not heard a
amazing.
single Georgian identify as Asian or something, because the closest people to us religiously and culturally are Europeans. It's sort of like the Estonia situation, you know, where they identify each other.
Well, that's at least in part because previously, as part of the Russian Empire and then the USSR, they were a part of essentially a European-dominated country or empire. Moscow, St. Petersburg, Rostov, all of those places are all in Europe, and that's where all of the sort of power centres of the USSR and the Russian Empire were. So the other outlying regions were more Europeanised by that process, I think.
They're more with Nordics and not the Baltics, because they're not like the Baltics at all. But the difference is Georgia does actually have territory in Europe, unlike Estonia, which doesn't have any territory in the Nordics. We are on the Council of Europe. Any chart we are in, we get categorized as Europe. We're in the process of joining the European Union too, bro. What more do I have to do? So putting us in the same discussion as Asian countries like Jordan or something is just insane to me and doesn't make any sense. Also, while recording this vid, I don't know what Leo has said, but I hope he mentioned that Icelanders are like the whitest people to ever fucking step foot on Earth.
True, they've got Iceland down, man. What can I say? They've got Iceland absolutely down to a T. Anyway.
Not good.
You don't like Jews? You. You don't like Israel? You. You say genocide? You. You say apartheid?
Don't even say it. I'm pretty convinced he's never heard anyone say the word apartheid out loud, and he's only seen it on Twitter.
True, that is a freeze frame right there. It looks like his arse has just exploded. Holy moly.
So he's just reading it, and he doesn't know how to actually say it, and that's why he keeps calling it apartheid, and no one around him is going to correct him because he's a stupid old man. When he's not like screaming at random Twitter users in his videos, he's like just taking a bunch of nice pictures with people. I'm gonna try to guess what he's saying just by looking at the video. You see right here, this ocean is Hamas. If you think anything different, you're a fucking anti-Semite.
Stop worrying about the fucking sea. Stop worrying about rivers and all that shit. Build your shit up, man. Get yourself some restaurants. Get yourself some hotels.
I mean, to be fair, Israel did just bomb all of the things they had built up. That happened.
Start a fucking Gaza Film Festival.
Guys, I know how to fix Gaza. It's like a Nathan For You bit. The Super Bowl of terrorism. The greatest day in the history of Gaza was 10/7. Holy shit.
Honestly, I can't wait to see the halftime show at the Super Bowl of terrorism. That could be quite fun.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any reasoning with people like this. The main thing all of these videos have in common is this smug, condescending...
Phantom, don't take it personally. It's just one of those silly meme videos on the internet. Made by a British person, so who gives a fuck?
Attitude.
Like, Brexit Island can basically shut the fuck up, you know?
Generally is like a form of manipulation emotionally. All of these people just browbeat you and abuse you verbally, so you don't even want to question what they're saying. But when the evidence is so overwhelmingly to the contrary, you realize that that's all they have, is just yelling at you.
Manipulation is a necessary tool for oppressors to justify violence. And it comes in a lot of forms, whether it's to muddy the waters to obfuscate blame, or demonize their victims in increasingly conspicuous ways. It's an example of the most brute force kind of manufacturing consent. And I'm not the kind of person to act as if these situations aren't inherently emotional, but the seething condescension and the transparent ignorance from Zionists online is never used as a tool in pursuit of justice, but exclusively as a justification for devastating brutality, cruelty, and a callous denial of reality and history. It's shocking to me that people are so willing to post things like this out in the open. And I feel like one day these videos could be in history books describing mass genocide denial, but it doesn't seem to matter to them. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Make sure to check out...
Yeah, we'll give it a little like. There you go. Everyone go and check out Ethan is Online. Yeah, this stream was awful and I regret having done it. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to go and lie down and try not to think about anything, but think about things far too much. Yeah. I'll be back tomorrow with Christy. It will be on with Vitae, the lawyer guy again. Apologies. Yeah. I don't even know if I want to keep this up, to be honest. It was just... I mean, actually, no, I'm keeping it up. Yeah, no, it needs to be out there. But at least Hitler's dead. That's still good. Yeah. Who's going on Twitch that I can send everyone over to? At least Hitler's dead. Hey. Lexi's going. I'll send you over to Alex. Go and say hello to them. Who's going on Twitch? Hang on a minute. Hang on. Where we at? Where we at? No, that's not. I didn't mean to do that. No. Fucking fuck off. There we go. Right. No, hang on. That's not what I wanted to do, is it? Oh fuck it. I can't be bothered. YouTube's annoying me already. Right, I want to send some people over to YouTube. We did this yesterday, kid. We can do it. I've got to learn how to do it. So.
Lord Frites donated $3. You're a good lad, and I hope you have a better time in the future.
Thank you very much, Love Fruitus, and thank you very much to Marcus Drake. I refer to my boner as a blood sausage. That is fucking grotesque, thank you. Very much to Marcus. Shut up, Logan. I didn't give you permission to speak, you fucking bellend. I'll knock you the fuck out. Although you do have great facial hair. No doubt about it. It's just a fact. No, hang on a minute. Customization. Redirect. Hey, here we go. Who's going? Oh shit, there really is just the TYT. I'm not sending you over to TYT. It's not happening. So that's basically, if you're on YouTube, I'm sending everyone over to Lexi. So yeah, that's all that's happening. Fucking hell. Go and say hello to Alex for me and stay amazing. I'll see you all tomorrow and hopefully I'll be recovered or whatever. Your support it means the world to me, thank you. No pass around. Oh fuck the 10 seconds. I haven't done that in ages.